Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 32 of the podcast. We're on Thursday because of my exam yesterday, which I will give mixed reviews on my exam. That's all I have to say about that. First 3 quarters of it were great, but the last quarter kicked my ass. So we'll be talking about some game news regarding some reveals, actually, of titles that we've played in the past, including AI Somnium Files. A Tales of Arise opening, I don't know what to say. Like they gave a date for when they're gonna do or show the opening of the game,
Yeah,
which I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never seen anything like that before, and I'm me personally, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, but I can see tons of.
it's an announcement for an announcement,
It's an
basically,
announcement for an opening of the game, and
for an anime opening for the video game.
I I'm I have I'm not making any comments to that, but I think it's ludicrous. But you know what? I think there I was looking at the Twitter post on it. People are going nuts, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Dude,
You
people
know
love
how I
their anime
feel.
anime openings.
You know how I feel about anime openings. I just like I'm not as hype about it. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. So we're just doing like a a release date for an opening. Got it. So as well as a Sony acquisition, which again, I'm sorry, Spoon. By the way, I'm kind of in like a mood because of yesterday's exam. I'm a little bit of an annoyed mood. I literally gave zero fucks about that Sony acquisition. Like I picked up my phone and saw it, and I went right back to sleep. That's how I felt about it. So let's get into it. I apologize everybody if people were actually really excited about that, and
Oh
I
man,
just made a bad take. But I gotta be honest, I it's like when the snooze alarm, like when the alarm goes off in the morning and you hit snooze. That's how I felt about it. It's like, no,
hmm
nah, I think I'm good. So, Spoon, I'm sure you're doing much better than I am, considering you're on your summer break. So, do we want to do today? We didn't put it on the doc, but at some point today, I think we should talk about World Ends with You anime. I think we should.
yeah. I just added it to the doc
Perfect. We're gonna
while we
talk
were
about that
putting
too.
up because I forgot. I knew there was something else that we wanted to talk about when we made the doc, and I
Yeah,
could not remember what it
it
was.
was
And then
that.
I thought of it. Yeah,
It's
like
100% that.
2 minutes ago.
I said I was annoyed, but I'm gonna be real nice to that show. Um, as well as Scarlet Nexus impressions. You're past phase 9. I'm still within phase 6. I'm gonna say I'm halfway through the Kasane route. You're definitely past halfway point of Yuito.
Yeah, I'm like two thirds
Yeah,
or three
but I
quarters maybe.
but I think at our points we can still make an early impression.
Yeah, I
So
mean, we're not going to talk about the story very
no,
much
not
because
at all.
there's a lot of spoilers and
Nope.
yeah.
This is one of the fastest stories you'll ever play in a JRPG. That's all I have to say. It is fast. Things happen fast, which for some might be a bad thing, but I think for me it works. It works okay. I think it works okay. So
I, we'll get
okay,
into it, but I
yeah, we'll
think
get into it.
I think there's pluses and minuses to it,
Yeah, of
to be
course,
honest.
of course there is. So let's do a very fast introduction sequence. I have two things, and then Spoon, I'll turn it over to you if you have anything additional you want to add. Obviously, on top of what I talk about. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it over here. I know the Chrome isn't. Oh wait, the Chrome is working. Fantastic. I didn't have to do anything. So reminder, we are talking about Scarlet Nexus today, and all the Scarlet Nexus playthrough videos are on YouTube. If you could support the YouTube, we'd really appreciate it. There are a ton of videos being released. I actually had a comment from somebody saying like, "Wow, you guys are putting a lot of videos on YouTube." And I go, "Yeah, we put like I I don't even know the hard number on it, but I swear to God, we've probably put over 50 videos on YouTube last month alone. Like I'm not even kidding.
I mean,
With all the
mostly you
Mass
with
Effect,
with Mass Effect
right?
and now
But
Scarlet Nexus.
still, the point is, there's tons of stuff on there. So if you could support us, that'd be great. Subscribing to the channel is obviously a free way to support us. If you want to hit the bell icon, you're welcome to. However, we've never like promoted it like other people do. And going through the videos and liking them. If you're curious about Scarlet Nexus, I would actually encourage you to watch some of the playthrough videos and go through for yourself and see how you enjoy it. I will stress this though. You probably want to make your early impression with parts 1 and 2 of the playthroughs for Kasane, and most likely part 1 of Yuito before going any further. You're going to get spoiled pretty quick with stuff. So, just a forewarning. But seriously, we appreciate all the support that we do get. As always, podcast videos go up here. If you were ever curious about the Mass Effect videos, which those will start again, by the way, this weekend. My plan is to play the Shadow Broker DLC this weekend, which is like a 3-hour DLC. So play that. I don't have homework to do. The last thing I wanted to mention was we're going to be hosting another giveaway. I talked about it in the Discord. Not promoting it on Twitter because we don't want Twitter giveaway trolls. So the giveaway will start tomorrow morning, actually. If you are interested in participating, we'd really appreciate it. I just want to give a disclaimer on the giveaway. I understand that the giveaway, especially the last one and this one, it looks a little bit like a survey. And if you're annoyed by surveys, I apologize. But the best thing for us, for Spoon and I in particular, is we need to hear from you guys about stuff. So there are going to be questions on there. They're going to specifically feel like survey type questions. And my recommendation is you give a simple but honest answer to them. And we're not asking you for a fucking essay. But
Yep. Don't tell us your life story.
Well, I mean, you could, but I can't guarantee I'll read the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the questions I can tell you right now, there's one question specifically asking about YouTube videos. It's asking very specifically what kind of YouTube lengths do you prefer? That's a question on there. It's like a multiple choice question type deal. Just answer honestly. If you only like 5-minute videos, answer that. We'd much prefer you answer honestly that way than not, because that may affect a conversation Spoon and I have regarding YouTube videos. You could post the entire B movie script. However, full disclosure, I can void entries on Gleam. So you could post that, but I could also void it. So keep it in mind. So that's the giveaway is tomorrow. It will last. I don't remember how many days, but I think it's going to go till Tuesday. The giveaway is not for one Steam gift card. Last time we did a $10 Steam gift card. This time I'm doing 4 $5 Steam gift cards. Okay, so last time I don't remember the exact number of entries, but it wasn't that many for actually people who entered. So I figured this time we could up the probability of people getting a victory on this one. So feel free to do it. There'll also be the usual like go visit a link type deal and things like that. And Spoon and I would really appreciate it. It's actually really good that we get this information from you guys. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep doing the same old thing, and maybe none of you guys actually like that. So, hopefully you'll take it seriously and not put the B movie script in there. And yeah, good luck to everybody who decides to participate. We will promote it in various streams and videos and all that through the weekend. Okay, Moon, that was it for the gift. Do you have anything to add on top of this before we move forward beyond like the normal, like be sure to follow the Twitch channel?
Yeah, that's the usual.
Yep.
As far as my Scarlet Nexus playthrough goes for Yuito's playthrough, we may take a hiatus this weekend. I'm gonna be pretty busy this weekend. So I probably will stream tomorrow morning, but Saturday, Sunday, and
Sure.
Monday are unlikely, I would say.
Yeah, sure. Well, the positive is for those of you that were like, "Oh no, Spoon's not streaming." I'll try and take over for him. I'm not as charismatic or handsome as him, but I will hold down the fort with Kasane and with some Mass Effect. Hopefully you'll put up with me. So
I feel like I'm the most boring streamer ever. I just kind of play the game and I don't comment very often. But
okay. Just don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get into some news. And I noticed Try's in here, so I think we should start with the AI Somnium file news. That way, Try can stay awake for the next 5 or 10 minutes before going and taking a nap. So let's
Well, we're
start
not gonna.
there.
I don't think we're talking about Genshin today, so we won't go full
No,
sleep. To be
no, he
honest.
won't. No, he won't. Let's do it. First on the docket by nature of me forcing it. Um, so we had a little tweet from PlayStation. There was also a video. I don't have it on here, but I can always pull the video up for AI Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, which I'm assuming is a standalone game. That is a sequel to AI The Somnium Files. Um, the
That is what I understood.
that
That
is
it's
what it
going.
is.
It's a new game. It's a sequel to AI: The Somnium Files. I mean, we're seeing an older Mizuki now. They didn't say exactly how many years it is after, but we're definitely seeing like an older teenage Mizuki
Yeah,
in this.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So that would suggest that Mizuki is the main character, and we'll be playing as her through the playthrough. So again, I don't have the video. There was also like a YouTube trailer video
yeah, it
that
was just a teaser that showed Mizuki and her pipe, which was her signature weapon
yes,
in the first game, and she had the she has Aiba. She had the Aiba eye as well. So
yeah, she has an Aiba eye. Maybe there's more than one Aiba now. Maybe there's like multiple Aiba eyes. Maybe there's like tons of them. Who knows? But yeah, the game AI Somnium Files. I think we both enjoyed it. Um,
yeah, I really
for what
liked
it
it.
was. Yeah, it was fun little detective game. Really, for the most part, I like the puzzles in it,
Yeah.
and
That
I
everyone will know there was one section of the game in particular that I despised, but other than that, I
you
liked
you
the
didn't
rest of
like
the
the meme
game.
section. You didn't like the
I
meme
didn't like
section.
I didn't like the meme route. The meme route
Meme
got to me.
route.
It was a waste of time.
Meme route was the best route. Are you kidding me? That was a great route. Meme route was great. That was a perfect route for me. I was so glad I started with that one because that was a great little route to take through. It was just like complete nonsense, but it was right up my alley. So, Spoon, are you excited? I
Yeah,
assume yes. Okay.
yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I really liked AI: The Somnium Files. Again, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't like a game of the year for me or anything like that, but it was really fun. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the story. I mean, most of the game is the story. The gameplay for the most part was good. I know people, at least on PC, had issues with crashing, and there were some of the puzzles that were kind of obtuse,
Yeah.
um, and kind of hard to figure out,
Yes, I agree with you.
or that you just kind of had to guess, and you know, if you didn't get it, you didn't get it, and you were kind of hosed.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the game overall was really fun, and the story was really good and fun to figure out as it went along. And again, the only part of the game that I really didn't like was the meme route. We had one stream of that game for like 3 or 4 hours where I was just angry the whole time because I had figured out like the twist of the route early on, or like the big reveal for the route early on, and
Mhm.
they just like wasted my time for 3 or 4 hours until they
You just
finally revealed it,
I
which
gotta
is
be
like
honest, you ruined it for
ridiculous. I'm
yourself.
like,
I gotta be honest, you ruined it for
I
yourself.
ruined it for myself by being too smart and
for
figuring it
for for
out.
smart for
Yeah,
being for being
being
very
observant.
quick. Yeah, very quick and
Yeah.
observant. Whereas I wasn't. It was great. It was freaking
Yeah.
great. Being Not being particularly observant has its benefits. And you're very I'm very easily surprised, so it's great. It's really fun for that side
Mhm.
of it. I I I noticed it said PS4 spring 2022. I don't want to come to any conclusions, but does that mean a PC port is not coming out right away? Is this something where this is going to be PlayStation 4 only for oh, it's all consoles. Really all consoles? Okay. So
Yeah.
PlayStation, Switch, and
Yep. PC.
PC and
And
Xbox?
I don't know about Xbox, but
Yeah, I was about to say and Xbox?
yeah, I mean, we got this tweet from the PlayStation, so they're not going to talk about the other consoles. They're
Of
like,
course
"Hey,
they're not.
play it on
Of
PlayStation."
course they're fucking not. Of course not. It's fine. Yeah, particularly PlayStation. They're like other systems don't exist. And don't be petty. So I'm interested. Obviously, I enjoyed the AI Somnium Files. We'll see. We'll see how it goes though. Hopefully, this time the PC crowd won't have so many crashing issues.
Yep.
Yeah. Next on the dock, we have Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which we've talked about a handful of times, has a release date and can be pre-purchased. This is the Epic Game Store one. Just this is where I think we found the availability of the game. Will be August 24th this year, and it's also $40, which I was intrigued by. It's a $40 game.
Yeah, not a full price $60 game.
Yeah, which leads me, I don't want to say that's like good or bad or anything, but I was a little bit surprised. I was like, oh, this isn't like a full price game. Okay, I think that's a good surprise in this case. I was like, oh, okay, so we get like I mean, like the game looks really nice, and a $40, maybe it's like a little bit of action exploration type of game. It looks fun. So I'm happy that there's a release date for this year, and I'll be very interested to try it. Um, come a time when I'm in a break from school, so I'll have an opportunity to play it, which would be
Hmm.
nice. Boon?
Yeah, I mean this game looks pretty cool from what I've seen. Again, yeah, I was surprised by the $40 price tag as well. I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, for me that seems like a good thing. Hey, this is going to be a non full price title, but I just hope that doesn't reflect the quality of the game or the like maybe the game is super short
I
or
think it's
something like
super
that.
short. I bet it's super.
I mean, it depends what super short is. If it's like 5 hours for $40, I mean that's a ripoff.
Yeah,
Like, but if it's like 15 or 20 hours and it's $40, that's fine.
yeah. No, that's totally
I mean,
fine.
I've played games that were 15 or 20 hours that were $60.
Yeah,
So
no, of course. I mean,
as
those still
long as
happen.
the
Yeah,
game is good and is long enough, at least again, it doesn't have to be exceptionally long. But
but
then then yeah, I mean, it looks like a cool game. It seems from what I've seen very Legend of Zelda esque, I suppose, or kind of action adventure type
mhm.
thing going on. I don't know if there's gonna be dungeons or items you pick up like in Legend of Zelda, but that's just the feeling I got from the game a little bit from seeing it.
Yeah, it looks like a cool little game. I hope it's something where it's if it's more than 10 hours, I think I'd be satisfied with that. I'd be satisfied. I don't really mind, even if it's $40 for 10 hours of play. If the 10 hours is enjoyable, I'll be fine with that. So that's just me personally. Okay, next on the dock is uh Falcom.
Yep.
I need to zoom in
I know
because
you don't
like
know anything. I know you don't know anything
I
about
know
this.
everything about this series.
Uh-huh.
So there's like a couple different games in this series. It's the Trails of whatever series.
Yeah.
In this case, there's Trails from Zero, Azure. I'm just saying Rivier.
Reverie.
I like Rivier better. Okay, I'm gonna go with Rivier and Nayuta, Boundless
Yeah.
Trails,
That game's a spin-off. That's a spin-off. That's not like
and
part
then
of the
there's
main
also
series.
the Trails of Cold Steel.
And Trails in the Sky.
Yeah. So all these different Trails games. I don't know. Like I are these like older than the Trails of Cold Steel series, or is this like newer games that we just never got in the West?
Yeah, so basically this was announced last week during a Falcom. It was like 20th or 25th, some anniversary, maybe it was more than that actually.
Mm-hmm.
They had an anniversary like conference thing. And yeah, NIS America, who has been publishing in the West and localizing since Cold Steel 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
XC did Cold Steel 1 and 2, but then NIS America took over for 3 and 4. Um, and they basically announced that they're going to be localizing 4 more Trails games. 3 of these have been out for a while in Japan. And just never got a Western release. So Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure are the Crossbell arc of the 2 games and the Crossbell arc of the series, which takes place between the Sky arc and the Cold Steel arc. So these are 2 games that were just never localized here in the West.
Oh, okay.
XC just didn't do it. They did the Sky games and they did Cold Steel 1 and 2, and they just never did the Crossbow games. Um, so yeah, those 2 games they're gonna do, and I assume they're doing there was a new kind of an updated version that was released recently of these two games in Japan called like the Kai version. They added like a little extra stuff on and ported it to PS4, so I assume they're going to do that version. Um, and Nayuta no Kiseki, or in this case, Nayuta Boundless Trails, is it's a spin-off. It's not part of the main series, but again, it's part of the series technically. So they're localizing that one, and then Trails into Reverie is the bridge title between Cold Steel and what the next main arc in the series is going to be. So this Trails into Reverie is actually the latest. That is the latest game in the series after Cold Steel 4.
Okay.
So um,
Are they
the
porting
only
it to like PS4 or is this like PC, PS4? Did they say or
yeah, PC, PS4, and Switch is what they have been doing generally.
okay?
So those three. And before PS4 would come out first, and then PC and Switch would come out like 6 months later. But I think with this, they said they're going to do all three at the same time, basically
Okay.
for all of these. The only negative to this, and I'm not. We don't really know why it's taking so long. Um, Trails from Zero is the first one that's going to come out, and that's not coming out until next year in the fall, 2022 fall. And then the
Mm-hmm.
other three are going to come out in 2023. Um, so yeah,
Okay.
these are a ways off, unfortunately. Again, I don't know why it's taking so long. Especially since with Zero and Azure, there was already a fan translation that was done, and they announced that they like hired and or at least working with the people who did the fan translation for those two games. They call it the Geofront patch.
Yeah.
So I'm not really quite sure why Zero and Azure are gonna take so damn long. But
But
rug, I can't. There's nothing else to say. I
the
mean, it's going to.
it's gonna take
Um,
a while. Okay. An early announcement for something that's not coming for
yeah, like a
quite
year
some
and a
time.
half. A year and a half for the first one which is
Yeah.
Zero, and then the other three games in 2023. So,
Yeah.
and the only other unfortunate thing about this is that it's kind of putting the series even further behind because Reverie, or they call it in Japan, it was Hajimari no Kiseki, but that game came out last year in Japan, in August,
Mm-hmm.
and the start of the new arc is coming out this year in like September.
Oh.
So we're gonna be like we're gonna be like 3 years behind or something by the time they're done releasing all of these things.
There you go. It's what happens.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of the price you pay. I mean, I'm glad we're finally getting the crossbow games. There's a lot of people, who want to play the crossbow games who didn't, and like the characters from those games do show up, like in Cold Steel 4.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't played them, you would miss some context on that. So I'm glad we're getting them. I'm just a little sad it's taking so long, and then we're gonna get even like kind of further behind. But um, it was still cool. It's still a very cool announcement that we're getting all of these. So yeah,
Cool. I have nothing to say. So very
I
cool.
know you don't play this
I have
series,
nothing
but
to say. But yeah,
but
cool.
Ghost and I are very excited because we're big fans. We're big fans of this series. It's really good. As I've said many times, some of the best world building and character development I've seen for like any game series
Hmm.
that they do in this.
Okay.
Um,
Oops.
but it's hard to get into because it's a long running series, and at least for me at this point, there's only two good entry points to start for the series, and that's Sky 1, which is the beginning of the series, or if you want, you can start with Cold Steel 1. But
Hmm.
it's one of those series where they're not standalone titles. It's one ongoing story, and you really kind of need to play all the games to understand everything.
Yeah.
So
Kind of that makes things hard. I will say that.
it's
Like,
it's daunting to get into when there's like
yeah.
9 games you have to play to get into the
It makes it
series,
like
right?
kind of problematic in a way because you're just like, okay, well, how does a new fan get in? Well, you gotta. Here you go. Here's a library of I don't know how many hours they are, but I'm guessing it's like over 60. Here's three to
Yeah,
four 60-hour games. Get started here.
and
You're
like
just
the
like,
Sky
oh,
ones aren't super long. Like Sky 1 is like 40, or yeah, Sky 1's like 30, and Sky 2's like 40. But then once you get into Cold Steel, like Cold Steel 1 and 2 are each like 80, and then 3 and 4 were like over 100 for both of them from
Right.
me. I mean, I play them very slowly. You could do it faster than that, but they're long. They are long, long games.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I want to try these games. Okay, well, here you go. Here's like a. It's daunting
Yeah,
to
it's
look
very
at, as opposed
daunting.
to something where it's like, I want to play an Elder Scrolls game. Skyrim. Does
Yeah,
Skyrim have any connection to anything? Kind of, but it doesn't. It doesn't matter. So there you go. Go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead. Doesn't matter.
Or even like yeah, sticking with JRPGs like Tales or Final Fantasy, like those games are all standalone for the most
For the
part. You
most
can just
part, yeah.
jump into
You
any
can
of
just
them. I
jump
mean,
in.
like
Yeah.
Exilia has Exilia 1 and 2, and like Zestiria and Berseria have like some connection, but you don't need to
Right.
play the
It's
other
not
ones
like as
on
big of a
on it.
deal. It's like, okay,
They're
well, whatever.
they're all standalone titles for the
Right.
most part. So whereas this one, it's like nah, there's like 9 games,
Here's your
and you
starting point,
kind
but
of
it's
need to play
so
all
far
of them.
away.
It's the
It's like,
beginning.
yeah, get started. Have fun. Okay, let's move to the thing I have. I gotta be honest. I don't. I'm well. Like if you're a PlayStation mega fan and you thought this was a big deal, I'm sorry. I just this is like okay. This was one of those okay type things where you're just like, yeah, okay, cool. I was looking at some of the games that House Marquee had developed. And quite literally, the only one I recognized was the new one, which was Returnal.
Returnal.
I didn't recognize anything else.
Yeah.
So that is why I just didn't care at all. I just didn't. I mean, like, it's always when acquisitions happen, it's always there's some level of, you know, importance to it. But at the same time, this was like, yeah, if you're a fan of Returnal, I guess this was probably something that was on your radar as a big deal. But for me, I hit the snooze button and went back to sleep. That's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I posted it because it was news. Like I
Yeah, of
saw it.
course.
It's like, okay, it's news. There was a studio acquisition. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't particularly care about this either. I heard good things about Returnal generally. I mean, it had some issues, but people seem to have liked that game,
Hmm.
and I don't really know any of the other games that this studio has made. But obviously, they've done enough good things for PlayStation, at least with Returnal, that they said, okay, it's worth it. Let's just, you know, buy out the studio and
Holy
have
crap.
them.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I have a comment to say after you're done. Keep going. I just noticed something.
Yeah, they're just gonna buy out the studio and just have it exclusive on PlayStation, and there you go. Or they'll be a first party studio basically from this point on.
Yeah. Can I? Okay. They have a picture of Days Gone on here.
Yep.
Really? I feel like that's kind of insulting. After they denied Days Gone 2, I feel like it's a little insulting. Just be like, yeah, we have Days Gone. Oh, you're gonna continue that? No, but we have it.
Yeah, it was
Like,
there.
it's a little
The game
insulting.
exists.
It's like, why would you put this on here? I mean, it's exclusive, but you clearly don't give a shit about it. So why do you put it on here? It's just like I don't know, like that caught my eye immediately compared to everything else in here. It's like, okay, well, but no, like you're not gonna continue this. So yeah, I mean, I know it's news, but it was one of those things in news where I'm like, okay, sure, this happened. People were talking about how there were some comments made, and they're like, the Sony had said we're not just going to make random acquisitions, and people were thinking it was like, oh, it's a jab at like somebody, maybe it was a jab at Microsoft, whatever. And it was like, okay, but yeah, sure. I mean, Returnal like was received well, but beyond that, it's okay. It didn't. It like to me, it just felt like it's
Yeah.
news, but it's not news that it's not like, oh, Microsoft bought Bethesda. I
Yeah,
see.
no, this was not blockbuster
Yeah.
news. This was Sony buying a small studio that again, I don't really know what they made before Returnal, but Returnal is a PlayStation exclusive,
Yes.
so they were already making a PlayStation exclusive, and now Sony's just
They already
acquiring
had a
them.
relationship, so it's just like, okay, let's let's make their relationship a step further. Let's take it a step further. I mean that I get. So anyway,
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much else to say about this, but it was there, it was
Yeah.
news, I saw it, and I was like, "Okay, we might as well talk
Sure, sure.
about it a little bit."
No, no, no.
But yeah,
I saw it too.
it's not Microsoft buying Bethesda,
It's not
which
that.
was
It's not that. That's
yeah,
just like that's like putting the hammer down right there. Okay. Ghost of Tsushima director's cut for PS5 and PS4. You played this, and I don't know anything about this director's cut.
yeah, I don't
Uh,
really either.
so you're gonna know as much as I do. If you'll probably know more than me in this case. One second. So the, I mean, well received game, contender for game of the year. Unfortunately, something else was more of a critic darling, so it didn't win game of the year, but it was very close. I would imagine people received it quite well, and seeing it come to PS5 with 60 FPS support is great. I
Yep.
think because it's coming with 60 FPS support for the PS5, and that's great because the game looks really pretty. So cool. August 20th, and
Yeah.
that's quite soon.
Yeah, I mean, this is a cool game. Again, I didn't finish the game. I got, I don't know, maybe even less than halfway through it, I'm not sure. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a fun game. It's an open world game, and I think I just kind of got tired of the game gets very repetitive and samey.
It's
Um,
I God, I hate to say this about open world games, but that you're you gotta love the exploration because the actual mechanics of the game they're not gonna develop necessarily. But this
yeah.
game seemed to have better mechanics to it than something like Skyrim, for example.
Yeah, no, it was cool, and again, I'm really not sure why I didn't finish it. Again, my brother Ghost, he like platted this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe part of it he just wasn't really playing anything at the time, but it's a good game, no doubt, and I think it deserves the critical acclaim that it got last year. It was
Right.
really pretty. It was fun to play. Um, I don't think the story was anything special, but it was there.
Yeah, of course. No, of course.
The only thing I'll say about this is like, while this is cool, okay, they're porting it to PS5, director's cut on PS4, PS5. They're adding more stuff to it. I think they said I saw there's gonna be some DLC
Mm-hmm.
added to it, and some other stuff, which is all well and good. But to me, this feels like a little bit of a cash in by Sony. It's like, oh man, people liked this game. Let's have them make a slightly better version one
Yeah,
year
of course.
later and sell it again for $60.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the the allure of putting this to PS5, which by the way, I don't is this going to be one of those if you have the PS4 version, you can get the PS5 version type deals. I don't know if
I
that's
don't
the
know.
case. But my guess is the director's cut, they're going to put a little bit more content. I don't know if there was like a DLC that's going in there as a part of it as well. This is always going to happen. If your game does extremely well, a next logical thing to do in a wide array of options is, oh, let's do a director's cut. Add
Or
like
final mix or plus edition or whatever
yes,
the hell they decide to call it. Like,
we'll sell it again for either full price or close to. And for the folks that generally just want to play a director's cut, they can have it. And for the folks that didn't actually get it the first time, they can have it. And that's it. I mean, like we've seen this. Usually it makes more sense when this is like, oh, it's coming to a new console. In this case, it technically is coming to the PS5 console, which is a new console. So, I mean, like to a certain extent, I think it's like fine if you're really interested in playing this game at an upgraded quality.
yeah.
And it does,
Well,
in fact, have the upgraded quality when it hits PS5, and you happen to have access to it if you have
I mean,
access to it.
PlayStation did the same thing with The Last of Us on the last gen, the first Last of
Yeah, of
Us.
course,
It came out like at the end of the PS3 life cycle, and like a year or two later, they
of
released
course it
the
did.
remastered edition on PS4. I was
Yep.
like, okay,
I mean,
cool.
again, it kind of makes sense to do it that way because you're like, oh no, but it's on a new system, so upgraded up with some upgrades. Uh, some yeah,
Yeah, this one's a little bit. I think The Last of Us one was just a remaster, just an up-res
Oh, it's just an
basically.
upres, yeah.
Where this one, at least they're adding some content to it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
If they're adding content to it,
not
that's
$60 worth of content, that's for
no,
sure.
no. Of course,
But
I'm sure not. I'm sure not. But anyway, but I mean, like again, if you like for whatever reason didn't play it or want to play it again at a higher quality, whatever. Really, like just sure, all the power to you if you feel like doing that. Um, but yeah, I mean, the game seems like
yeah,
a good game.
it's a
Seems
good
like it.
game. It's worth playing.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
if you like open world games, if you don't like open world games, then you're not gonna like this game because it's an open world game.
yeah, I just noticed Try's comment. This would have been the Game of the Year edition, but
But it lost.
it lost. So they changed the name. They're like, oh well, it lost. I guess we'll just have to call it Director's Cut instead, because it can't be named the exact same thing. This
Don't
would have been the
worry.
Game of the Year edition.
Last of Us 2 Game of the Year edition will come out like a month or two later.
Whatever. Game Last of Us 2 looks pretty. Okay, we got one last thing. We talked about it earlier. I
Yeah,
have to say it again.
this is kind of a nothing burger, but
I just I don't know what it is, but when you have a reveal for your opening animation, I understand that people that watch anime, there's a subs there's a group of that, probably not everybody. There's a group of it that goes fucking nuts for openings. I understand this. But are you serious? There's just like a specific date for an opening, and you're tweeting about it like it's a huge deal. Spoon, I have to say this. Why is this a huge deal? Can you please explain to me why this is a big enough deal where they're going to post a tweet for a sneak peek with a reveal, like a release date on an opening animation?
I mean, it's the Tales of Arise official YouTube channel. What else are they going to talk about? First of all,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, I mean, anime fans like anime openings, and that goes in line with JRPG slash anime game players. We like our anime openings for the most. Not everybody, but a lot of us like our anime openings, and they're hype. They look good. I mean, the animation is done by Ufotable, who they do a great job with the animation. I'm sure it's going to look really pretty. And we have no idea who like the band is for who's doing the song, so
It'll
we'll see.
it'll immediately get muted when you try to play it on your YouTube video. That's what'll happen. Like the Scarlet Nexus stuff, where you get
Oh
immediate
yeah,
copyright claim.
oh yeah, no,
It's like, well, there you go.
yeah. When we, I'm sure we'll
That was
talk
so
about this
funny.
again. I'm sure we'll talk about this again next week after it's out. Um,
Oh, it's
and
just
we'll,
funny. Yeah, can't
but
play the
I
video,
mean,
or I can't have audio.
I mean, it's not like I'm not flying out of my pants about this, but I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm seeing what they put together, how hype it's gonna be. I mean, I like anime openings. I like hearing the songs, and I want to see what kind of banger of a song they're gonna do for this game.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to this game. It's not as hype as if they were announcing like a demo for the game.
yeah,
I would be super hyped for. Um,
yeah, that would be.
yeah, I mean, it's
What
cool.
if at the end of the thing they said there would be a demo? See
That would be
then,
big hype. Then it would be big hype.
then there's bigger hype, right? That's I maybe they sneak that in there. Maybe like, hey, there's going to be a demo next month. Here you go. Um, see, that would be cool. See, that would I would be down for. Maybe they'll sneak that in at the end of the little opening video.
Yeah. So this
I
is
would like that.
This is Monday, by the way,
Mm,
July 5th.
yeah,
So.
yeah. So, okay, because I got to be honest. Like I saw you put this in there, and I looked at it, and I was like, it's an opening. What? But keep in mind,
Yeah,
I
I thought about not putting it in there
no
because
no no
it's kind of a nothing burger, to
no
be
no no.
honest. I was like, oh, we'll talk about it next week anyways because it's gonna come out next week. So
Yeah, I was just like it's clearly not because there are plenty of people that seem excited about it based on what I read through. But like this is just me in particular being like, okay,
yeah, I know you don't like anime openings
yeah,
and you don't really care.
I don't care for most openings. That includes the world world ends with you opening.
Well,
I
I know you
do not care
didn't
for
like
that
that.
one.
I know you didn't like that
Oof.
one. I know there's a lot
Oof.
that you at least think are okay or that you tolerate. I know you dislike that one.
There are
So
plenty that I think are actually okay. I just don't want to watch them. Just like
yeah,
I'm good. Let's just skip it. I'm good. I'm good. we've seen it. We're good. But yeah, that one in particular, I genuinely just did not think the song was so.
Yeah, it wasn't
But
great.
that's a separate thing from Tales. I mean, like Tales. This I hope for the best for this game because they're trying a bigger audience. I have to hope for the best for them because if it doesn't work out, it's a disservice to the fans too. It's a huge disservice to them because then they won't try and push the envelope. So
Yeah, I don't. Well, we'll see if this game does. I don't think it'll do exceptionally poorly. They're marketing it way too hard. I think they'll do at least as well as they usually do, but you know,
but that's not good enough. It's if you're
that's
trying to
that
push
that
it that
yeah,
hard,
that's
not
not
good
going to be
enough.
good
Yeah.
enough. I just hope that if this game doesn't do what they want, that it doesn't like spell the end of the series. That would be very sad for me.
Yeah, no, I mean like again, I'm not a super mega Tails fan, but when somebody tries to push into an area that's unfamiliar territory, I, I'm I will be more hesitant to try and shit on. But I mean, obviously that isn't to say that we've done that before. But I hope for the best because you want to see them try and push the audience. These games are clearly made with quality. It's clear they're quality games. I don't think I'll ever like completely crap on one of these games. They're just like they're clearly made well. So when they're trying something, they're trying to push to a new audience or like trying to make a push, you root for that. Particularly when they're making good games. If it was like a case where they're making like mediocre to poopy games, then that's totally different. But in this case, I think they deserve a little bit more of an audience because these games are really enjoyable.
Yeah, they're very solid for the most part.
Okay, that's all we had for the news.
Yep.
So let's go back over here. Okay, so there's a couple things to talk about. World Ends with You anime show, which I think is less so something we should talk about compared to Scarlet Nexus and whatever else we need to touch on. If we talk about Scarlet Nexus, I have to rant about Bandai Namco again. So just be prepared. Be prepared for me to absolutely be to just blow them away with my anger. I'm really mad at Bandai today. So which would you like to choose? The ball is in your court for this one. You pick, and I'll follow up.
Well, I think since we finished the World Ends with You anime, we should talk about
Cool.
that.
Okay.
And we're gonna have more time. I'm sure we'll talk. We're not gonna spend the rest of the time on it, so we'll
Sure.
talk about Scarlet Nexus some, and then we'll have more to say about it next week, probably
Sure. Of
after we're
course.
done with the game.
Of course. Okay. So World Ends with You. Would you mind if I started? Because
Go ahead.
I didn't actually play the game. So this is unfamiliar territory for me. So didn't play the game. Not that I wasn't interested in the game. I just didn't even like I only knew of it because like I think you played it and like Blue likes it. But like it wasn't something that like I was going out of my way to play anyway.
It's
So
not a super well-known
yeah.
game. It's a cult classic and generally loved among people who have played it, but
Hmm.
it's not a popular series. Well, it's not even well, it's a series now since they're making a second one, but it's one game
It's one
and an
game.
anime
Yeah.
now. Yeah. And the game
Um
came out, on the DS in like 2008 or 2009, maybe it was 2010, I don't remember.
yeah, it's been there for a while.
And then they ported it to Switch, 3 or 4 years ago, something like
Yeah.
that.
It's been left hanging. Um I'm not gonna comment on the opening. I mean I've already said I hate it.
Yeah, you hate it.
I hate it. But, it happens. Um the show itself, I don't think I'm gonna go into any spoiler territory. At least I won't unless we're open to it. But I think the show itself, if you are correct in your when you were telling me that it is really similar to the story of the game, then
It's pretty fate. I mean, I don't remember a lot of the super nitty-gritty details from the game, but it's pretty faithful. It's
yeah,
pretty darn faithful.
it's a 12 episode show. If it's not 100% faithful, as in like if it's not getting nitty gritty details here and there all the time, give it the benefit of the doubt. It's like trying to adapt it to a movie. Movies are gonna leave shit out. It just depends on what they leave out or like what they try and change. Like, for example, Death Note movie on Netflix was an absolute train wreck. And it was because they completely changed the story, and the story was bad. So,
Yep.
different situation. This one, it's faithful to the game, I would say for the most part, based on what you've told me. And I think it starts off really well. I really like the story at the beginning with Neku and Shiki.
Hmm.
And the the idea of Neku being sort of a closed individual
Yep.
and Shiki starting to open him up because she's obviously like almost like completely the opposite of it. So it works really well. The combat in the show, I know you've said you don't like it that much. I think it's like the animation I think is like I want to say mediocre to subpar. And
The CG noise do not do it for me. They
yeah,
don't look
it's
very good.
my issue with it is I think it just clashes with the artistic style. Like it just
Yep.
completely clashes with it. If the entire thing was that way, obviously it'd be different, but it's not. Like what's with the CG? I like it and I do like the the information that's presented and the little mystery that Neku has in trying to figure out what happened to his memory. And like it's good. You meet some other characters. You meet Beat and Rhyme,
Hmm.
and you know honestly, they tag along with each other at times. I didn't really have an opinion on them. It's like okay, they're tagging along. They're fighting noise. They're accomplishing certain missions, and then something happens. This like big event happens. I want to say I don't know if it's like a third of the way through the series, but it's like after a few episodes, something big happens, and the entire fabric of the character and the show changes.
Yep.
So I think
I think it was three up. I think it was three
yeah,
episodes
okay.
for the
So about
first arc.
yeah, so a quarter. We'll say a quarter then, because three out of three. So I liked the first three episodes. I I regardless of my nitty nitpicky things with like certain areas of it, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. The next arc has to deal with Neku and a new partner. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything beyond that, but Neku's got a new partner, and this new partner, Neku doesn't trust the new partner, and it's that arc is more or less trying to uncover secrets of Neku's memories as well, specific events though now in his memories. And again, I kind of liked it. I thought it was good. I didn't like it as much as the first arc, but I thought it was pretty good because I liked the partner. The partner and Neku had a really interesting relationship as Neku and
Yeah.
Shiki
I
did.
mean, I think we can say that the partner in the second arc, the partner's name is Joshua.
Yeah.
He's kind of he's kind of a mysterious character. He doesn't really tell you like who he is or where he came from or what he's doing, and he does a lot of shady stuff. And Neku doesn't trust him for most of the time. And
Hmm.
like again, a lot of that arc is like trust your partner. You need to trust your partner. You know,
Yeah. Which
even
I'm
if
like,
he's a little
okay.
bit shady, you need to trust your partner.
Which I don't know. I don't know if I buy that completely, but like, okay, you're it's a forced partnership. You do have to some degree. I guess they're pushing the idea of okay, you better trust your partner. Okay, that's the idea. They're pushing it on him, and eventually something else happens, and Neku once again is forced to
Play the game again.
play the game again. He plays this game multiple times, and
The Reaper's game. He plays three times
yep.
throughout the series.
And the last time, this third time is the last time, and at that point, I'm not going to go further down that road because that arc ends up, hitting all the big stuff, the big spoilers. So that's not the obviously like there's tons of stuff that got completely edited out of my little conversation about it. But my point is, I think the first two arcs were really strong. I thought the last arc was weak, except for the villains.
Yeah,
Um,
the villains actually do stuff in the
the
last arc.
villains actually do stuff, and you start to figure out what each of their objectives is, which I wish I'd known first arc at least a little bit. At first, you're just like the only objective that I noticed was they're just a pain in the ass. That was it. They had no objective beyond being a pain in the ass. So for me, like I was watching, you only really see a couple of them. You see the girl and the guy. I don't even remember. And you know why I don't remember
Uh,
their names? Because I don't care. I don't care
I actually don't remember their names either.
because they're not memorable. I'm gonna be honest. They're the most
Yeah,
unmemorable.
they're not memorable characters.
They're not. They're boring. I have to say it. They're boring. At the end, they kind of start to develop some relationship with Neku in a certain way, but they're boring. Um, they fall into the category of quirky. So they're very boring. Um,
Yeah, I mean the girl's like tsundere type, and the guy is like lazy.
yeah,
Basically,
it's
those are
just
their
like,
quirks.
all right, cool. Um, but some of the other Reapers that end up becoming like more or less your group of villains, but each of those villains has like different objectives, and it becomes interesting at the end. That's the interesting part. Everything else, like Neku's partner, who ends up being Beat, a character you
Yeah,
meet early on, he's just kind of boring, and it's because he's a shonen character,
yeah,
and
he's this gung ho, your gung ho anime protagonist,
not
basically.
not
Yeah,
that shonen characters can't be interesting, but he's not interesting. So that ends up kind of being an arc that falls flat because then it just becomes him and Neku running around with like chickens with their head cut off, trying to figure out where the hell to go until they basically get pointed into a certain direction. And obviously, I'm glossing a bunch of stuff over, but it felt like that. They're just like, I gotta run around, kill some noise, and then we'll get this door, and somebody will hand us a pin, and then we can go through this door. It's like, okay, great. Can we? Let's go back to the villains now. Um, so I thought the show was still pretty solid. Beyond that, I thought it was a pretty solid show. I I had a higher review of it early on because I really liked the first arc, and the second arc I still kind of liked. I thought it was somewhat interesting, but overall, I don't know what other people have given the show. I thought early on people gave it like a 6.5, which I think
I
is
think
kind of
on
harsh.
I think on anime lists like the aggregate's hanging around like 60, maybe like 55 or 60.
That's
Honestly, like
so harsh.
it's pretty low.
It's really harsh to be honest, and I think I I can't say in particular why that is because I don't really follow anime lists for reviews or anything, but I think that's a harsh grade on this show. It's a competent show. It has a story that I think works in a way. Like I think the characters that end up being the party members, I think their relationships are pretty good beyond the last arc. I think it's a shame that your villains don't get more of a sense of their goals until it's kind of too late for me. Um, but I think like a 6 is kind of harsh. I would give this a 7 if we're being harsh. It's a competent show. It
Yeah,
it's
the
not
uh
boring.
the average score for this show is 58%
Good
on
God.
anime
I,
list. Though the majority, so on the if you look at the score distribution, the two highest categories for scores or like scores that are given was a 6 and a 7. Those both had 553 for 6 and 543 for a 7. And the next highest was a 5 at 416, and then it just kind of tapers off from
yeah,
there.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
people
But
that
I
gave it
mean,
a 1, 2, 3, and then
but
8, 9, 10 as well.
the
So
the average is a 5.8 basically.
yeah, it's around a 6 average, which I think is fair. I think it's a little harsh. I rated it a 7 as
Yeah,
well
I
for my
think it's
final rating.
harsh.
I think it was solid. I would think about it if I was being really harsh, maybe I'd give it a 6.5, but I think a 6 is.
I
I can see someone giving it a 6, but it's a little bit
I
harsh.
think that's harsh. I'm just like, for me, when I look at shows and even movies, like movies, I'm actually even more nice to because like I'll watch garbage ass movies and enjoy them.
Yeah,
So
they're just entertaining.
yeah. You have to figure it out. Like Fast and Furious 9, for example, is just entertaining. But good
Yeah,
God, if you even use a single brain cell when
yeah,
watching it, you're fucked.
just hurt. It just hurts.
You're fucked.
The thing
So
about movies though is they're short. They're only like what 2 hour, like hour and a
exactly.
half, 2 hours, two and a half
But
hours. An anime series like you're gonna watch 12 episodes. You're gonna be there for like 12 episodes. That's
but
gonna be like 5 or 6 hours probably.
right.
So
There but let me tell you this. Like when I saw Fast and Furious 9, it was like 2 days ago. again, the this should give a general idea of how I feel about media. I saw a car in space and was like, okay. See, he's about to just like crazy. Like
No, I wasn't going crazy. I like nearly spit up my water because I'm like, that's just absurd. Like,
exactly. But the thing is, you have to know what you're getting into. And Fast and
uh,
Furious 9, you can't take it seriously. If you start using your brain, you're gonna have an aneurysm.
I thought
But
that series was gonna end at 6 or 7, and they just keep
nope,
going.
nope.
They just keep going. Though I did see an announcement that finally number 10 is gonna have part 1 and part 2, and that's gonna be it. They're gonna end it there. That's
Thank
what they
God.
said at least.
I just want to say thank God. I think it needs to end. So my point, I think I want to circle to before I go too far into Fast and Furious, is I came into this show with not much expectation beyond what you guys said of the game, and you said the game was has a good story. So that's what I came into it with. I came into it with, okay, it's got a good story and the characters are pretty good. But like to give this a 6, if I were to give an anime show a 6, it'd have to be like the characters are boring as fuck, but it's entertaining. Or the characters are really good, but it's boring as fuck. It's got to be like something where something's boring or like completely uninteresting, and you're
For
just
the
like,
show that you thought were boring, though,
yeah. It's
not
like,
the
look,
whole show, though.
I mean, I went through it, but I thought it was boring, so 6. Or the show I like, the show was super interesting, but the characters were nothing. Yeah, it's one of those two.
I mean, some people really hate that like CG animation, and it just like completely destroys them. There's like, this is garbage, and they hate
Okay,
it. So
but like, if that's something you don't like, don't give the show a 1 though. I don't like people who are like, oh, that's a 1. Are you
oh yeah,
serious?
there's
Giving a
almost
show a 1
nothing
would
that
have to
deserves a
like,
1.
yeah. To be honest, if I were to give a show a 1, it's because they actually someone had diarrhea on the screen. Like that's a 1. Like this is like it literally wasn't even complete. Because when I think of like 0, 1,
Oh
2,
yeah.
3, it's
Okay,
just
I saw
incomplete.
clips of X Arm. That might be like a 1 or a 2. That show looked really, really bad.
But it's just like, okay, it's
But
not
yeah,
complete. Like there's something wrong with it. It's not complete. That's when I think 6, I think, oh, like it's a capable show, but it's boring, or like the characters are
there's
bad
something like wrong with it. Yeah.
to a degree where it's like not like anything. I think like giving it a 6, I think it's kind of harsh. I think like this is a 7 where like the characters, there's a character arc. It works. They're somewhat interesting. The story's pretty good, particularly when you get towards the end where the villains start talking about things and they start to reveal things and you get nuggets of information. The combat in the show is probably the weakest thing for me. But
Yep.
everything else I thought was competent. So I wasn't bored. I think it's a 7. I think if it had like better like the non CG noise and the combat was a little bit more fluid with a non CG style to the enemies, I thought it might have been better. I also think the combats were just too short. It was like
Yeah.
a 30-second combat. It just didn't seem like they just like, okay, we can't fit it in. Let's make it 10 seconds. So that was also an issue for me. So I think 7. I think 7 would be fair. I don't think there was ever a point though where I was like, wow, this show is boring. I don't think I was ever bored. So that's why I think a 6 is hard. I would only give a show a 6 if I was like, yeah, this is boring, or like, oh, these characters are boring, but it was entertaining. So yeah, I would recommend it to people. I still would. If you haven't
Yeah, it's
played the
not that
game
long.
and
It's
you
only
don't want
12
to,
ep-
yeah,
it's only 12 episodes.
I would recommend it. Like if you didn't play the game in particular and you want to play the new one, I would actually recommend watching the show instead. Unless you like just
Yeah.
really have to play the game, I would recommend the show. Like, okay, it's yeah. I don't think it's boring.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people who would rather play the game, and so yeah. I mean, I think it's worth experiencing one way or the other, whether you watch the show or you play the game. But I think you should do one or the other. To be
Right.
honest, the show is competent. The game is better. But again, the gameplay in the game it can be frustrating in my opinion, especially the Switch version. Again, I didn't really play the DS version. I heard it was better in that one, but um, yeah, I think it's worth experiencing. It's cool, and Yeah, there's a new game for it that's coming out at the end of this month, and
There's a
people seem
demo.
excited for it. There was a demo. I didn't finish the demo, but I did play it. I played maybe an hour or so of it. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. It's fun. It keeps the style of the original game. They've
Okay.
changed the combat to make it not have stupid controls.
Good.
Um,
Good.
um, I want to see if there's like more depth to the combat later. Early on, it's just like very simple, but that makes sense because it's early on.
Hmm.
Um, but it still keeps the style and the feel of the original. So I think the new game has a lot of potential from what I played in the demo.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
yeah, I would definitely check out the demo if you're interested in the game at all. Like it's worth playing.
Okay. Call The World Ends with Two. Oh my god. How could it not have been called The World Ends with Two? Ah, wow. Boone, your thoughts? Huge missed opportunity.
Shrug.
Okay, Spoon, you're. What did you think of the show? I mean, you played the game, you knew the story, but like, what what did you think?
Yeah, it's been a few years since I played the game, so I didn't remember a lot of the details from the story. I remember the major points, the major bits.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I thought it was I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything what you said. The first arc of the story with Shiki is my favorite, and getting Shiki's backstory, and then the twist at the end of the first arc, with what happens to Shiki, um, and Neku playing again is pretty brutal. That destroyed me the first time when I played the game. Probably the best part of the entire game and the show, in my opinion. Um, Second arc's pretty good. Joshua's interesting and mysterious. Um, and yeah, um, not much else to say. It's just kind of like you don't really know what's going on in that art for the most
Yeah, yeah,
part.
yeah.
Joshua's just doing a lot of weird stuff, and you're
Yeah,
like,
he's
okay,
being a weirdo. He's
this
being a
guy's
weirdo.
weird. Um, and then the third arc, yeah, I agree with you. Beat is not a super interesting partner, but you. It's interesting to see kind of the culmination of what's been going on, and I'm not sure they did a great job of this in the show. But in the game, you have all these missions that you do over the previous two weeks, the first two arcs, where like you distribute the red skull pins to people. Well, that was shown in the show at one
Yeah, it
point,
was. Yep, it was.
and then there were others that like had to do that as well. And then you see like, oh shit, like I did that, and now the entirety of Shibuya is now like brainwashed and under the control of this guy because of this mission that I freaking did. So like I thought that was cool
Mhm.
in the third arc. It's done better in the game, I think, than in the show, but it's done a little bit in the show. Um
They alluded to it in the show where it's like, okay, the Red Skull pins, like they keep getting distributed. Something's going on there. You just weren't sure till the end.
yeah. And like the I like the ending. The ending's pretty good. Um And yeah, I mean, again, the villains are much more interesting in the third arc. They're more the focal point, and then the ending, as opposed to the first two arcs. It's more focused on Neku and his partner Shiki, and then Joshua. Um, and I think they do a good job of like explaining most things, and like what people were doing. Like the game master in the second arc, Minamimoto, was like really weird, but they kind of explained like what he was up to in
Right.
the ending. Um,
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
so yeah, they kind of explained everything that was going on, and I think they tie it together well. I agree with you. The combat in the show is not very good. It's too short, or yeah, it's just like there's no tension in it. It's way too short for the most part, and the animation for it isn't particularly good either with the CG noise. So yeah, the combat for me in this show is like below average, but the story is quite good for the most part. The story is probably like an 8.5, and maybe even a 9 for the story and the characters.
Yeah, I agree with
But
you.
then the combat's like a 5 or a 4 even. It's like pretty like average to below average.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, it averages out to like a 7. The animation of the show is good outside of the combat, in my opinion. The soundtrack is good. I agree with you. I don't really love the opening for this show either, but I don't hate it. But it's definitely not up there with any of the openings, like my favorite openings or openings that I really like.
Yeah, no, yeah. I got you.
It's pretty whatever for the opening. But overall, the soundtrack is good as well. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's about it. I think it's a solid show overall. It's
Okay,
not a yeah.
I
I think it's good.
okay.
Um,
Would you recommend it to people if they haven't? Well, if they've played the game, would you recommend it to them? And if they haven't played it, would you recommend?
um, if you haven't played the game and you are interested in the series but don't want to play the game or think it's too long, then I think this is a good way to experience the story of it. But I think playing the game is better than
Okay.
watching the show, but if you don't have interest in playing the game, but are interested in the series or are interested in the new game maybe, then yeah, maybe watching the show is good. For people who've played the game, maybe I mean it's a decent refresher right before the new game comes out instead of like having to play the game again, the first game.
Yep.
So I think it's solid for people who've played the game. It's definitely it's not as good as the game is. It moves a little too fast, and um, you know, they don't hit all the details. The one thing that I will say, my other than the combat and the CG animation in combat, my big complaint about the show with the way they show the powers, the psychs, which is what
Yes.
they're called, that Neku uses, the
Yeah.
fire and the electricity and the spikes that come up from there, all the different powers he had. So in the game, you get pins and you equip those pins to get these different powers. In the show, they nix that completely. He just like has the powers and he just does them. So
Yeah.
I didn't really like that they kind of got rid of the pin system for the powers. They could have had him like collect them along the way or something like that when he kills
Sure.
enemies or something like
Yeah.
that. Like
Sure.
I
No.
don't know.
Yeah.
They it just didn't really make sense to me that they kind of took out completely the fact that the powers come
Came
from
from there.
having pins.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like it's something that omitting it. What does omitting it even do?
It doesn't really change anything,
Yeah.
and again, if you haven't played the game, you wouldn't know that, but it just seems like an odd thing to take out because
Yeah.
like pins,
Exactly.
they're like the player pins, there's the red skull pins, like there's other pins throughout the game, but they just took out the psych pins, which I don't know, like it's weird.
It is. No. I'm buying that. I'm buying that. That's a little bit odd. It's like a weird. It's a weird omission. Okay.
Yeah, I think unless you have anything else to say, I think
No,
that's
I
about
don't.
it
I
for
don't
World
because
Ends
if we
with
go
You.
any further, we're gonna start hitting spoilers, and I don't want to do that. This is one of those stories where I think I'd rather not go into spoiler territory, so that people who are curious experience it for themselves. It's kind of interesting. So I think I'd rather just people experience it without like this pre-existing what's gonna happen. So there's Kate. Hello. So
Okay.
so okay. Let's then let's move to Scarlet Nexus. Unless we
Yep.
wanted to move something. Okay.
Unless you have something else you want to talk about, but
No, I don't actually.
yeah.
I'm I'm more interested in talking Scarlet Nexus for now, if
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah, I'm almost done with Near. I've finished ending D today, so I
Okay.
just have ending E to go. But there's nothing. I have nothing more to say about it. Like it's the same. I can't
Hmm.
talk about it without
Yeah, of
spoiling
course.
anything. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's all. That's all.
Yeah. For Scarlet Nexus, I'll do the same thing that I did with World Ends with You. I will not go into spoiler territory. Um, I think for Kasane's side, the story is interesting enough where I'd like to not do that. And I'd rather someone experience it fresh than not get my diluted thoughts. So I'll just talk about what I think, and I think Spoon will do the same unless he wants to go into spoiler territory, in which case, all the power to you. I don't know Yuito's story, and I prefer not to at the moment, but I can get a
Yeah,
general
no,
sense of
I
what's
won't
happening.
go in. I won't say any specifics. I may say some like general like comments,
Sure.
but I won't talk about details as far as that
Okay.
goes.
So, would you like to talk about this game first, or would you like me to? And I'm going to preface this. I have a hot take about this game. So I'd like to know if you'd
Go
like
ahead.
to hear the hot take
Go
first. Or...
ahead. I want
Okay,
to hear your hot
okay.
take.
This is my second favorite JRPG I've ever played. It reignites my faith in the genre. I wish more games were like this. I wish more games would be like this.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I like the game. I think it's very good, but I do not. I mean,
This
I've played way more JRPGs than you, but I do not agree with that.
I think this is like one of my favorite games I've ever played. I really like it. I like it so much. I'm shocked I like it this. I didn't think I'd like it this much going in. I was interested, obviously. We both were. I like this game so much. I like it almost as much as Mass Effect. And that's shocking to me. I like this
That's
game a lot.
that's very shocking to me
It
because you
actually
love Mass
it
Effect.
actually pushes my top 5 list. It's pushing my thoughts on my top 5 list. I like the combat. I actually really like the combat.
I like the combat too. It's fun.
I really like the combat. I like the graphics. I like the world. The world is weird. It's like this weird futuristic place. I like the music too. The music is weird. It fits. It fits really well with the environment. It's like this weird. You get this weird techno music, and like even in combat, like you can like even hear the audio scratches from like possibly like a DJ doing the audio scratches. It's like super cool. Like in the combat, hearing like your combat possibly messing and like having some kind of impact on the audio. Maybe that's not the case, but I like it. It's interesting. I think the characters are kind of good. I actually like Kasane and Shiden's relationship. I actually think they're going to have the best relationship in the game because Shiden is like this turd sandwich of a character, but
He's such a prick, dude.
but but he
I'm
works
sure on
really well.
Kasane's I'm sure on Kasane's side he gets more interesting, but I've had two Bond episodes with him on Yuito's side, and he's still just a dick. Like,
Or but with Kasane, it works super well because they start to really go down this where like Shiden, it's like oh Shiden's like entitled, he's a piece of shit, but on Kasane's side, there actually are moments where Kasane starts to slowly connect with him
yeah,
because she's so poor from a charismatic
yeah,
perspective.
she's very aloof. She's very aloof.
She's
Like,
or she's just so direct. She's
yeah.
so direct it takes him off guard, and he's like, "Oh, you're not making fun of me," because
I mean,
he just
she
assumes
did.
people are making fun of him.
Shiden has so many chips on his shoulder.
He
It's not
does.
even funny.
Oh, he does absolutely, and he absolutely does. But
He has
Kasane,
such. You can
like,
tell from Yuito. He just has such like an inferiority complex. It's
he does, and
ridiculous.
he
Like,
explains it. He explains it to
yeah,
some degree, and it works well with Kasane because she's like trying to figure out how to communicate with people. And actually, I think she communicates with him because she's so direct. Like in some instances,
yeah.
he like gets mad at her because she's so direct. But like sometimes he's like completely unaware that she's complimenting him. So it's like kind of interesting to have them banter back and forth and go through their Bond episode. It's really interesting, and each character like has their specific, you know, their angle, and all the characters have their personalities, and they all work pretty well. Like I like the Arashi character. She's like a tech savvy character
But
who's
she's really lazy.
but she's really lazy. So like she could be like a top quality engineer in the OSF, but she's too lazy. So they just like never let her do it because she doesn't want to do it. She just doesn't have any drive to do it. Um, Kyoka's the mother. She's the motherly character, and it's nice with Kasane because Kasane doesn't want that. So Kyoka's got to kind of get used to that. It's all good. The party works well together. Kagero's great too. It's all great. It's all
Kagero's just
great.
jokester from what I've
He's a
seen for the
jokester,
most
but at
part.
the same time, like he's very shady.
Yep.
There's mystery there. You're trying to figure out what the hell his mystery is. What's his deal? This is a fun game. I've really enjoyed it. Um, I do prefer it because there's less fluff. I do. I think that I think it's a little too fast for its own good. I think it's a little too fast. but it's at the speed where I'm never bored. There's always something happening, and if I ever want to slow down, that's what the standby phase is. Go into the standby
Yep.
phase and you slow everything down. You do your
Do some
side quests
Bond.
if you
Yep.
want.
Do some Bond episodes. Do
You
some
do your
side
Bond
quests. Chill
episodes.
out.
Like you chill
Grind.
out.
Go grind. Go grind if you
You
want to
can
go
grind.
grind.
Yep. Which honestly, I don't think I've ever had too much. I've had a little bit of trouble with side quests, but I do want to say that this it's kind of nice because with some side quests in other games you have to go turn it into the person. You get it, do your thing, you turn it in. In this game, as soon as you get it, you can turn it in wherever the hell you want.
Yeah,
You're just like, okay, just
in the
turn it in.
menu, you just click complete
You just
in
click
the
complete
menu,
and you're done.
which makes sense for this game because everyone's supposed to be connected through this like
Exactly.
sign it thing. So you're just like, I
Right.
completed it. Click, it's done. Okay.
I don't even care if it's like ridiculous that like what do you do? Just like send the light jelly in a package. Here's your light jelly. Like you send it somewhere and it like goes through mail to get to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. Yeah, this is like this is a great JRPG. I like Chrono Trigger more than this, but that's because Chrono Trigger's like round on the top. But like my hot take is I think this is just a better game than Xenoblade. Just better. I just think it is, and I know it's a hot take for some of you, so just cover your ears and think I'm an idiot. You're fine with that. I'm fine with this, but this is great. I've had so much fun, and I'm mad at Bandai Namco because they didn't talk about this game during E3. That was a missed opportunity for a game that I think is much better than an 8. This is I don't know, like the ending of this game must suck for someone to give this an 8. It must just be terrible. And the guy who talked about this is like, oh, this isn't Devil May Cry. That guy can go into a sewer and just lie down into the water because all he's got is shit coming out of his mouth.
Do the sides have different? So you learn they come to. I've gotten to the point where they've come back together basically, and they're kind of doing the same thing again. But there is like 4 or 5 chapters in the middle where you are split up and doing completely different things,
Mm.
basically.
Yep.
Like there is like a conflict that happens at one point in the game, and the two protagonists are on opposite sides of the conflict.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid spoiling for either side. But the Kasane side's objective is I'm just gonna say is probably completely different than Yuito's objective. Her objective is just so it's her objective is very weird and interesting, and I'm totally on board with her objective. It's very cool, and her motivations are like it works so well with the villainous characters. Like it's such a weird relationship where it's like, look, I don't like you, you don't like me, but we both benefit, so we're working together because of that. I love it. It's great. I love it. Okay, that was my hot take. It's a great game.
I mean, I think it's a great game. I really do. But where I'm at in the game, maybe Kasane side's better. I'm not sure, but unless the ending is something exceptional, I don't think I can give this game a 9.
Hmm. Okay, continue.
So the pacing of the story is really good. I agree with you on that. It like maybe it's slightly too fast, but pretty much every chapter or phase as they call them in this game, there's something happening, there's like a new reveal, there's a twist, there's you learn something, something's happening. Yeah. So I think the pacing of the story is really good in that sense. The world building, on the other hand, is really poor, in my opinion. I have no sense of like what the world is like other than like, okay, there's this city and we're all connected
Yeah,
through
sure. Yeah,
whatever. But like when the big event, like again, like the conflict happens and they're talking about Sayron this, Sayron that, Sayron this. I'm like, what the hell is Sayron?
true.
I finally figured out it was another city, but when they're saying this and I don't understand what it is, what they're talking about, I'm like, is it a faction? Is it a city? Is it a person?
Hmm.
What is Thayron? You have not done a good job building your world when you are using a term that is supposed to make sense and be important, and I don't understand it.
Sure. I'll buy that. Keep going.
Yeah. So I think the world building is poor because I don't understand the world, like the structure of the world at least. Like again, I understand the basics, there's these people, there's others, there's OSF,
Yeah, sure.
but I just think they just like don't give enough time to like develop the world and some of the characters. And like while I like the Bond episodes and like the development of some of the characters on Kasane's side sound more interesting to me, like, but anyways, that's just
Yeah,
whatever.
yep.
Um I wish the characters would develop more within the main plot at the same time, as opposed to like only on these like side episodes.
Sure.
And also, we're getting to the point in like on Yuito's side with the there's two male and two female characters. Yeah, both the two female characters want Yuito's dick, and it's
Yeah, of
annoying.
course. Yeah, of
Like
course.
I
I mean,
just
like,
like
of course.
stop.
Yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah, yeah.
um But yeah, like Hanabi, who is like the childhood friend character, the fire girl, like yeah, she's boring. She's your childhood friend like archetype. She loves the main. She's in love with the anime protagonist. She has been since they were kids, and she
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
tell him
Sure.
that she's
Okay.
in love with him.
I just
And
want to say on the Kasane side, when you talk with Hanabi, it's great. Keep going because Kasane is such a better character than Yuito. I'm sorry, I think she's just such a better character. So it's more
yeah,
interesting when people interact with her.
yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I think Kasane is the better character. I think Kasane route's probably more interesting. Um, Not that like Yuito's route isn't interesting and like we learn interesting stuff. Yuito just isn't a particularly interesting character, and then like Hanabi isn't really an interesting character. You have Gemma, who's like he's like Kyoka. He's like the dad of the group. He's a
Yeah,
boomer, and he's like a lot of his story. He's like he's trying to like get with the times, but he's also like contemplating. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna retire soon, and like I'm old,"
sure.
and
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
got all that type of stuff.
sure.
Segumi's the shy girl. She's
Yeah.
cute. I like her. Um, and then you have Luca, who talking about him's a little spoilery to be honest, but like
Let's.
he has a bit of an inferiority complex.
Yeah.
He's small in stature, and like his whole thing is like he works out all the time, and like he
He.
uses like training weights and stuff like that because
I
he
don't.
thinks he's small and needs to be stronger like his brother, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
So I don't. Can we say the spoiler for this one? So Luca Travers happens to be the little brother of like this like major general. Okay,
yeah, that's not really
that's
spoiler
not really a
because
spoiler, right?
because they both have the same last name. You
Yeah.
guess that from the
So,
beginning
but
of the
like,
game.
I don't know if somebody may not have known that at the very beginning of the game. I'm just saying, like, it's not really like a huge thing because they go into it and it's not like a huge deal in the context of the story. But like, yeah, he has an inferiority complex because his brother is like probably my guess is he's superior. I
Yeah.
don't know. I kind of buy Luca a little bit, but I could see like I'm sure that like going down that path too far, it ends up becoming okay. It's just like same boring stuff. Come on, Luca. Come on.
Yeah, I think Luca. I don't think Luca's that boring. I think he's fine. Hanabi's the one that's just like okay.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Again, usually I'm actually kind of a sucker for Hanabi's archetype, but I don't know. It doesn't do it for me in this game. I'm just finding it annoying. I'm like, okay,
The
like
the dev- the like illogical devotion to a certain degree, or is it
not
like
illogical devotion. It's just like no. It's just the childhood. Like again, they were childhood friends, and she's in love with the main character, and
yeah,
she
okay,
always has been, and she's shy about it. She doesn't want to tell him about it, but everybody knows, and it's just like
okay,
okay,
it's one of these stories. Got it. Okay,
yeah.
it's one of these things.
And like I like Hanabi in that she's peppy, she's upbeat, she's energetic. Like I like
Sure.
that about her, but like her story is not interesting because it's just her trying to like spend time with Yuito, and then I'm sure eventually she's gonna tell him
Yeah,
that
I mean
she loves him at
that's
the
a
end.
character arc is
That's
trying
what's
to
gonna
find the
happen.
courage to finally tell him she loves him. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll buy it. Is that super interesting? Not necessarily, but
no,
it's something, I suppose. It's not just like some stick figure walked in and was like, "Hi."
yeah, yeah. So again, I would like the characters. I wish they developed more in the main story and not just in the bonding episodes. Um,
Sure.
let's see. Um, I generally like the combat. and lately they've been better, but for the first like 4 or 5 or even like 6 phases of the game, the boss fights were the least favorite part of my least favorite
Are
part of
you
the combat.
serious?
I
Oh
found the
my
boss
god.
fights obscenely annoying.
Oh, I love these
Like,
boss fights. Oh my god. What's going on
but
here?
fighting Kasane with Yuito is the most frustrating goddamn thing I've ever
Yeah, of
like
course it
in my
is.
life.
No, it's the opposite too. Yuito's really freaking difficult as Kasane. Can I ask difficulty? Hard, normal, easy?
Hard.
Okay. So okay, just wanted to check. So it's you when fighting Yuito, I also think it's very annoying. He like the melee characters, and I'm sure Kasane being ranged, it's going to be similar. It's very difficult to do a perfect dodge in their attacks. It's like
Yeah.
extraordinarily difficult, in fact, to the point where you just sort of like bait out an attack, back up, run around,
Throw
like.
something at them with
But
psychokinesis. Like,
basically what I ended up doing was just like with Yuito, whenever he threw something, I would perfect dodge it and just try and throw it back and get my couple hits in and run back. And the one-on-one
yeah,
boss fights, I will say they're not great compared to the actual boss fights where you're fighting some weird monstrosity. But I mean, like, yeah, the one-on-ones aren't the best. I will agree with you there.
I just wish in the human. There's another humanoid boss fight in Yuito's route who I won't say who it
Yeah,
is because
sure.
that's a little spoilery.
Yeah, sure.
Who's also just like obscenely annoying to fight. Like he just like the humanoid bosses just like they don't leave enough openings, and when you do, even when you exploit the opening, they don't always stagger when you
Yep.
hit them,
Yep.
and it's just like, come on, give me an opening. Let me actually do a combo on them
Yep.
instead of this hit and run like, okay, one hit back, 1 or 2 hits back up, 1 or 2 hit. Like, I hate that. When I fight a humanoid boss, I want them to freaking stagger.
Yep.
When I find an opening and I hit them, I want them to stagger so I can get a good combo on them and then back up. I don't want to
Sure.
have to like hit and run, one hit back up, one hit back up.
Yeah,
And
sure.
even against Kasane, one time I died against Kasane, I like got a perfect dodge against one of her attacks with clairvoyance up, which like has a buff when you perfect dodge with the Segumi's power.
Sure.
I did I did the counter attack and I was too far away from her for the counter attack to hit because her attacks are ranged. And then she did her spinny attack, the third part of her combo, and I died.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
stupid.
Can I so with her boss fight, clairvoyance. Okay. So you had an SAS power? Clairvoyance is an SAS power, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you just have that one? Did you have Gemma's power at that point?
Uh,
Just
I think
curious.
I think at that point I had all
Okay.
four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. I'm not making any comments. I just was curious because like on some of Kasame's one-on-ones, you don't get any.
Yeah,
They're
no,
just
the
they're
early
just like,
yeah,
here you go.
the early like the first 1 or 2 I think are just literally 1v1, but
Yeah.
then in the later ones you actually get your power you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
your
sure, sure.
powers, your
Okay,
SAS powers.
cool.
But then the boss has like they have 2 allies fighting with them as well, so you have to like deal with their shit first.
Oh,
So
okay. So you gotta deal with the odds. Okay. Yeah, I will agree with you. The humanoid boss is not staggering. Not the best. Particularly for Yuito when there's a ranged humanoid boss. I will say that on the Kasane side, it's easier because you generally are fighting humanoids with melee weapons. So,
and she has range.
and she has range. So you just
Though,
sort of
though I assume
do that.
Yuito doesn't stagger when you hit him, so he just beats your ass anyways.
No,
Like
what you end up doing is when all the melee characters have a combo. They do their combo. They only have one combo. That's it. They do their one combo, and then you get about a full
to hit
second
them.
to just go at them. But while they're comboing, they don't change direction. So you
Run
run
a circle
around
around them. Yeah.
and you start hitting them, and then you back up again. You do a hit and run.
Yeah. The problem is for against Kasane, she has a similar thing. Like, well, I think her combo's a little harder to dodge because it's ranged, so
Yeah.
it tracks pretty well. But the third hit of her combo is that spin thing that goes all around her,
Yep.
and then you have your opening after that. But by the time you're close enough to her to hit her, like you don't have any like it's
Yeah.
frustrating.
You'd
I
probably
don't
have to
I don't.
like. I suppose you could throw something while she's comboing, and then
I mean, yeah.
time it so when it hits her, you then do the dash. I don't, look, I'm just brainstorming, but like yeah, I can see how ranged characters on Yuito would be a pain in the butt to deal with. So that I'll buy what you're saying there. I'll buy it.
And yeah, the at least the first couple with the big monster others, they
Hmm.
were just like, not that I didn't like the fight. They just were like, they just had too much health. Like the fight
Hmm.
just lasted too long. It's like, okay, I've understood the mechanics. I did the thing, and maybe on normal it's better. Maybe it's because I'm playing on hard and the
Mm.
shit's just tankier on hard. But I'm not sure. But the
Yeah,
bosses just had a little too much. I'm like, okay, I figured out the boss. And at some point, it just became a war of attrition where I'm just like, I'm running around, I'm just throwing shit at them, waiting for them to do the one attack where I can actually get an opening and like
right.
stagger them and then hit them. So
Sure.
but the last couple of bosses in the more recent chapters, like I liked quite a bit more than the earlier
Okay.
ones. So
Yeah.
my opinion is changing slightly
Okay.
on that. But generally, I like the mob fights better than the
Yes.
boss fights. Though there are a few enemies here and there that I've encountered that I just despise. I just
Yeah.
hate them. I'm like, this
Sure.
enemy is awful.
Yeah. No. 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 I mean that. I'm gonna be honest. Every JRPG has. They all have enemies where you're
Yeah,
just like, why does this exist? I'm gonna sell the boss health thing. I think the boss health is okay. Um, I mean, in the context of other games, your boss is you understand the pattern, but it's like okay, but yeah, like the boss fight will occasionally be a war of attrition. You just have to survive all the mechanics and you deal with that. I think the boss health is okay overall. There's one boss in Kasanes that obviously has a lot of health, so you have to like you basically have to hit their brain 3 times to kill it. Um, the fight doesn't get any more complex with more brains being taken out. So that I will say, it, the fight should probably like maybe shift on the last brain or something like that. Like maybe there's like a
yeah,
last, like a desperation mode type deal where the the phase changes a bit. But like the fight that I had recently in a facility, which I won't say anything about, it was like a stationary object, and you were hitting this stationary object, and there would be mob of enemies coming in, and then there were different pillars across the room that would generate electricity. So you had to avoid the electricity, kill the enemies, and at times the electricity would almost cover the entire arena. There were like small pockets of safety. So that was the fight, like avoiding the electricity fields, killing the enemies, and then once the DPS phase started, the boss had this like alert field where it would circle around the arena in different areas. And if you got caught, he would close shop. You couldn't hit him anymore. So I actually really liked it because if you utilized your party members well, and if you were smart about how you used did the DPS phase, you could extend it for as long as that was allowed, and you could make it even longer if you started activating abilities of your party members, and you could avoid this alert like field. It was kind of nice to like discover that. So that like the like creature boss fights or like mob boss fights I thought were pretty good. The humanoid ones, I'm actually with you. I think those are pretty weak boss fights.
they're just
They're
frustrating to fight.
frustrating. I can't say that I've actually died to any of them yet because I'm just spamming healing all the time. But I will say they're a pain in the ass though. The lack of stagger, it's a thing. I mean,
It just doesn't make sense.
it yeah. I mean, like you hope they do, but once you play certain games and enemies don't stagger, you're just like,
I mean,
yeah, it's one of
yeah, you
these
get used
games.
to it, but it still annoys me every time where I'm
Of
like,
course,
"Oh, I'm fighting a humanoid enemy and I'm beating their ass with my sword and they just do not give
I
a
don't know.
shit."
Yeah,
Like,
I can't answer that for you, but I've been satisfied. I haven't been like these are the best bosses in, but I've been satisfied
again, the
with
bosses
them.
for me, they're not bad bosses. I'm not saying
Sure.
it's bad. I just like the mob fight. Like I like the
Yeah, yeah.
combat better when it's mob fights
Oh, I
as
do.
opposed to boss
I
fights.
love the mob fights. Mob fights are super fun. These powers are great to use. They're so fun. Like the blend of the powers in the combat, even when the enemies don't require it, is super cool. To start like figuring out which combos work best. If you start getting hit a lot, which party members maybe you should activate to get out of danger's way. Very
Yeah,
cool. Very
I
cool.
think my again, I think the powers on Kasane's side seem a little more interesting because the problem with Yuito's side is there's literally one power that you kind of just want all the time, and that's fire, pyrokinesis. The other three are very situational. Like none of them on Kasane's side, it seemed like multiple of them can be used for both like offensive and defensive capabilities.
Yes,
Where
they
on
can.
Yuito's side, pyro is used for DPS.
Sure.
Teleport can be used for both. Like you can teleport around, which makes dodging easier, and then you get like a teleport strike. If you're locked onto an enemy and you hit the attack button, you'll just teleport to them and start
Yeah.
attacking them. So like that one's cool, but like when the enemy is downed and you're just getting like a DPS time because you knock them down, teleport doesn't do anything. It actually like
Yes.
hinders you. When you're doing an air combo on something, sometimes you'll just like teleport in the middle of your air combo even when you're right on top of them and they'll just fall and you lose your
Oh,
combo. So
I
that's
I
kind of stupid.
I want to say this: when enemies go hit the ground, I never combo them anymore, or try not to. I always just throw an object at them because I don't know. Maybe Yuito doesn't have it, but on Kasane's side, you can take an ability in the brain, in the brain tree, and it will smash the enemy on the ground, and then
Yeah.
it smashes them enough where you can just immediately brain kill them. So yeah, when an enemy's down, I just say, okay, let's just throw,
Yeah,
and
no,
then
Yuito
kill them.
has that too.
The only DPS, there are two DPS options. They're both different. There's electricity, but I don't think electricity is that good even as a DPS option. And there's duplication, which duplicates thrown objects, which is super helpful. I just want to say super helpful to have. Additionally, once you build the character episodes, you get like multiple character attacks. You get like different character attacks as
Yeah,
well. That sometimes,
combo
yeah,
visions.
sometimes you use them. They're pretty interesting. The other two are invisibility and super speed. But super speed, it's more like you slow down time.
Yeah.
So you like slow down time. Everything you do is normal speed, and you attack normal, but everybody's slow. So that's a defensive and offensive option. And invisibility is defensive. You just go invisible, but you can charge an invisibility attack and like crit.
Yeah.
So there's some offense too.
Yeah.
So it's like I spam duplication and the super speed mode all the time. I hardly use electricity, and I sometimes use invisibility to do the charge attack. That's it.
Yeah. So, yeah, as I was saying, Pyro is purely offense.
Yeah.
Teleport is kind of both, but more useful in like a hit and run style as far as offense goes. Sclero is purely defensive because
Yep.
it just makes you not take any damage.
Yep.
And Clairvoyance is like only situationally useful. Like the first upgrade for Clairvoyance is really good. It makes it so when you perfect dodge, when you do the counter after the perfect dodge, it auto breaks their shield.
Oh
Like if they have
God.
if they have like armor, it breaks it automatically if you perfect dodge and then counter.
Oh, that's
Um,
ridiculously good.
so it's really good, but again, it's situationally useful because not all the enemies have armor, and you have to be able to get a perfect dodge, which is easy on some enemies and harder
Yeah,
on
sure.
some other
Yeah,
enemies.
that's
So
true. That's true.
and otherwise, clairvoyance is like you use it on certain enemies that like go invisible, so you see them with clairvoyance, and then okay, whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, I just think the power set on Kasane's side is a little more versatile than on
Mhm.
Yuito's side. Like the one on Yuito's side, they're kind of used for their thing, and like that's about it. They're just not super versatile in
I,
my opinion. But
I did get to use Gemma's power. Yeah, his is very situational for defense, but there are some enemies that put on like an AOE field.
damage field, yeah.
Yeah, and you just pop that in. Or if you're
So
really hurt and you need to heal, you could just pop it and heal, I suppose.
yeah, that's true.
Or
And
safety.
yeah,
I
I
don't know.
mean, there's times where like I pop it and then I'll use one like because there's those like L2, those like environmental
Oh yeah, it's a good
psychokinesis you
idea.
can do. So I'll like pop it so I can like throw one of those
Yeah,
because like you won't get staggered out of it.
yeah.
So like I'll use it that way. Um, I will say like there's been a few moments here or there where you know I've had like really good reactionary like an enemy kind of came from off screen and I wasn't like expecting it. So I'll like I saw him at the last second, and I'll just like activate Sclero and like block whatever was gonna hit me. So like that felt really good. And I do the same thing occasionally with Clairvoyance, where like, oh, an enemy's I didn't see that. Oh, that enemy's about to hit me. I'll activate Clairvoyance and like dodge immediately, and then get the counter. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, that was dope. So like that was cool. But
Yeah, yeah.
um, again, like the powers are cool. But again, on Kasane's side, they just seem a little better to me. But what else was I gonna say? I don't know. Yeah, the game is really fun. One thing I'll say, so the story's paced well in my opinion, but and there's lots of twists. There's some big reveals that happened in Phase 8 for me,
Okay.
um, and then a little bit more in Phase 9 as well. Though in Phase 9 we ran into just like we got introduced to a character as a villain. Well, like we knew this character existed, and I assumed they were going to be a villain, but we saw like their motivations and like what they want to do, and this was the least interesting villain I had seen in my life. They're just like, "Yep, I have a legacy of genocide, and I am gonna genocide people, and I'm gonna genocide my people so I can go genocide the other people." It's like, okay, cool, dude.
Okay.
Like, it's like one of the worst villains They were just like a Doctor Meanbad,
Oh,
one of the
okay.
worst villains I've seen in a long time. It's
I
like,
see.
okay, cool. This was stupid.
That's unfortunate. Hopefully I won't encounter that person, though I'm thinking I will, and I'll probably be like, okay.
It'll probably be explained to you, but you probably won't encounter them. Like this
Okay.
was something that kind of Yuito went and did, and I don't think Kasane will see that. We'll see that scene in
Well, there you
particular.
go.
Like,
There you go. Okay then. Okay. Boy, I'm sounds like Yuito's side is a little less interesting to certain degrees. And your party members aren't as don't have as much flair in combat as Kasane's, which I mean, somebody's got to have better party members. But I don't know. Some of the stuff on Yuito's side feels kind of nice as a situational thing. So that's good to hear. At least it wasn't like, oh yeah, this party member is just useless. So whatever. Um, trying to think of other stuff that I found that was frustrating.
yeah,
I think in yeah, I do think that because I saw your ghost comment on like how the twists there's not much foreshadowing for them, and I think I do agree. Even on Kasane's side, there's not a ton of that. I mean like part of it is like uncovering mysteries.
yeah,
Kasane's side just seems to have tons of mysteries that you're trying to uncover, and
yeah.
that's like that's your
Same on you.
motivation. Yeah.
Same on Yuito's side. There's a lot of mystery in the world, and again, maybe the world building is done the way it's done intentionally. It's just supposed to be mysterious. You're not really supposed to understand everything, but I mean, there's like no at the point we're at on for where I'm at on Yuito's side, there's nobody. The civilians are the civilians are just kind of there, but like literally everyone else sucks. Like Yuito's party and Kasane's party, they're cool and they're working together towards the end, but like Seiron sucks, Nuhimuka sucks, and there's a third faction that's out there that sucks too.
Yeah.
And everybody's bad, and everything's a conspiracy, and everybody wants to kill everybody else. And it's like, can you guys just work your shit out and stop? Like, I don't,
I don't
yeah.
know. I think that works though. I actually think it works though when it's like there's tension all over. I mean, like obviously it'd be nice if there wasn't tension in every single faction, but the reality is they're separate factions. They may not get along, and maybe that's part of the story. Maybe they're like that comes together in the end, and in one way or another, the factions figure their shit out. Who knows? Probably not, but who knows? Um, I'm sort of okay with it for now. We'll see how the ending goes with like how the factions end up like concluding with the whole story, regardless of which route it concludes on.
Yeah.
But I mean, like having tension in factions, if the factions were all cozy and nice with each other, that'd
Well,
be
yeah,
even
no,
more boring.
I I don't want them to be I don't want them to be cozy and nice, but it just like, is there anyone in this world who isn't an asshole other than like our group of people? No. All right, cool.
Well, the thing is,
Like,
like in let me just say this. In Kasane's route, I actually like it when nobody's like a goody two shoes, because then you're like, hey, look, like Kasane's route, there's tons of mutually beneficial relationships where there's like we trust them only because we have the same goal. So
Yeah.
the one of the most recent phases was this guy basically said, "Hey, don't go over here though. You're not allowed to go in there. So don't go in there." What do you think they're going to do?
Sonny said, "Nope, fuck that. We're
Immediately
going
they
in
go
there." Yeah,
investigate.
yeah.
And the guy knew that they would too. I mean, I think he was expecting it. But the point is, they're working together. Kasane and this other person are working together, but that they don't have to like each other. And it's nice that they don't, because you can start to try and piece together underlying motivations for everybody, particularly when you join this person and you're just like, okay, we're like the whole group even discusses it. They're like, are we really doing this? Like, this is clearly not a good group, but Kasane's like, no, we're doing it because I need to know this. I need answers to this. So it's not just like, yeah, we're going over here because we're nice people and we like you. It's there's an there's an underlying mystery that needs to be solved, and you know what? We don't trust it. We don't trust them. And that's part of it. And that's I like that. I like it because it's not black and white. Gray area is there, and it's like it's far more refreshing than being just the pseudo we're always the good guys. In this case with Kasane's group, we're probably not the good guys. Probably not. Maybe we are. Who knows? But we have our motivations, and we're doing our motivations, and we're working with somebody that has their own mystery, and we'll figure that out. But we have our thing to do, and Kasane has her goals, and her goals are not just,
Yep.
but they are to her. But to other people, they're not. So it works well. It works really well in the context of everything else. I will agree with you on the world building. The world building is definitely not there. They just like say words and you're expected to know them.
Like,
Now,
hey, we're going to this place next. Where is this place in the relation to other places? I don't know. We're going to this
right.
place though. Like,
It's not like I will say it's not an abnormal thing in any game to be like this character just said a word. And I don't know that word, or I don't know that proper noun. But usually the proper noun, like somebody within the dialogue sequence explains it in some kind of detail, or when you get there, you get quality detail. That's what I'll say. Like even with Xenoblade 2, everywhere we went, there was like a detailed explanation of what that particular area was in the context of our universe that is the Xenoblade world. So in that sense, whenever the party had somewhere to go, we knew we were going there and why we were going there, and where that place was and what it was, and what that was great. You at least had some level of understanding beforehand of, hey, somebody said a proper noun, and we're going to the proper noun. We know what it is now, even if we didn't like 10 minutes ago. We just got it explained. So that was good. That's really good. Obviously, this game doesn't have that. You're just sort of like, hey, there's an abandoned highway. Where is it? It's over there. Okay, sounds good. Let's go to Sayran. What's that? It's another place. Really?
that's another city.
That's another
Okay.
city. Oh, okay. Are they like in good? No, they're not on good terms. Oh, okay. Anything else about it? Rebels. Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not a lot.
The world building in terms of like location
It's not
is
there. It's
is
not
really
there. I'm
it's
with
not.
you.
I won't even say it's poor. It's
It's not there.
non-existent.
And I agree
Like,
with you. I agree with you. I'm not being a stickler on it because I kind of just fill in the blanks on my own. Like
yeah.
what the hell is this place? Well, I'm gonna figure it out. But yeah, no, it's not there. I'll agree with you. World building isn't there. And if you're someone who wants that and desperately needs it, you're gonna be
Yeah,
like, what
the
the
game needs
fuck?
to be long. The game needs to be longer for that. Like,
Yeah, it does.
or
That's true.
and structured differently.
It does.
Like,
It's true. This game is less structured on the sense of let's develop this like lore, this intensive lore on all these different places that we're going to. Which, by the way, not every place I think needs lore. Does Abandoned
no,
Subway need
not,
lore?
no,
No.
no, no, no.
But Sayran needed lore, and the places where you go and it's more like a city hub needs. Um, so that I think that you're making a fair criticism.
My one other big complaint with the game is the recently it's been better, but early in the game the location variety and level design also quite poor. Um,
Hmm. Okay.
like you had, I mean, there was like the first couple areas are just like city, just like city area, highway, subway. Okay, and then there was so the one that got me the worst
Hmm.
was phase 5. You go to this abandoned hospital
Okay.
in Yuito's story. You
Okay.
do the abandoned hospital, you do the dungeon, and I thought it was like the ambiance of it was cool. It was like an abandoned hospital, it was a little bit creepy. I liked
Yeah.
it better than the levels I had played previously. It was a little
Sure.
more interesting. And then phase 7, you go back and you do the abandoned hospital again, the entire dungeon again.
Oh. Yeah. You
And I'm like,
replay
oh,
the you
we're just
replay.
gonna
Okay.
repeat the same dungeon we did literally 2 chapters ago. Again, recently, like phase 8 and phase 9, the environments were like more varied and more interesting. So it's been better lately. But the
Hmm.
beginning of the game, like the level design and the environment variety was not good, in my opinion.
Okay. Uh, obviously, Yuito side's different than Katane's. I haven't felt like it's been an issue yet. I've the only reason I've gone back to the same places more than once is for side quests.
Well, yeah, that
But I
that, that I'm not counting
but
because you go back for side
but
quests.
I have seen like certain areas come up again in missions, and they're like, oh, let's go here and let's go here. Um, the main areas that I know of are construction site, um,
Kikuchiba.
Ikuchiba, abandoned highway, subway, facility. Again, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Facility and different suo. Okay, so and I'm just going to say that. So you have 6 different areas, and I haven't felt like the design of the dungeons is extremely. Most of them are just super linear.
Yeah,
Say here's fine. In my opinion, I actually don't care that much
yeah.
because
I
it's
don't
just
care
like
that much.
whatever. It's not an open world.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
A
game
to
is
B,
mostly
sure.
focused on the combat, and the
Mhm.
combat's fun.
Yeah.
So
That being said, obviously, I think if you're being forced to replay certain dungeons, probably a little bit of an oversight, unless there's a very specific reason you're going back.
I mean,
Like,
there was a reason in the story to go back, like, but it's still annoying to play the same dungeon. It wasn't twice in a row, but again, like
right,
there was one chapter in between, and there was like 5 and 7 where we played the
right.
same dungeon. So
I don't know. I think if there's a context behind it, and if it's like somehow wrapped in like, oh, we got to go back here. Obviously, you don't want to replay the whole thing. Maybe there's like they just speed you to a checkpoint, and then there's more to explore past what you already did.
yeah, that's what I
That
thought
would
it
have
was
been
gonna
nice.
be. It
Yeah,
was gonna be like, okay, we go through a little bit of it, and then we just like hit a cutscene or like fight a boss or something, and like that's it. But no, we had to literally
you
do
had
the
to go through
entire
the entire thing. Yeah,
dungeon again.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I mean, obviously, I'm not playing that side, but I'll buy it because that's it's just like okay, this is the same thing again. Like you're gonna tell me you're gonna recycle the whole level. Yeah, I mean, like it would have been nice to just like rather have done like a cutscene checkpoint type deal, something like that, right? Okay, so I'll buy that. Sure. It sounds like a lot of problems are on Yuito's side, and that's really unfortunate because that's the one I'm going to play next, and I'm just going to see them all. Um,
No, I think I just have more nitpicks with the game. Like again, none of these things are like major issues that
sure.
cause me to say like, oh, this isn't a good game, or like I don't recommend this game. They're mostly nitpicks that like are there. Again, this game, unless they completely botch the ending, which I don't think they will, this game will not be any lower than an 8 for me, but it's probably an 8.5.
Mm,
But again, I don't see it getting a 9 because at least in my opinion, the combat, maybe it does combat exceptionally. This game to me just isn't, it's very good, but it's not good enough to be like, it's not exceptional. It's not amazing.
Mm,
So I just can't give it a 9. Like a game has to be exceptional in my opinion to be a
sure.
9, and it's not. It's not for me. It's
Okay.
very good. It's very, very good,
Okay.
but it just doesn't quite break the 9 barrier for me as
Okay.
being exceptional.
I
Unless the ending blows me away and is completely
sure.
exceptional, maybe then that would elevate it. But
Sure. No, I'm with you. Okay. I've heard your complaints, and I'm buying most of them. The only one I sold was the boss health. But like, come on, like me selling that, it's an opinion. I think it's valid for you. Um. Okay. Like I said, I think this is an exceptional. I freaking love this game. I
that's
don't
fair.
know. I don't know. Like all your complaints are valid. I agree with them. Actually,
Yeah, you just don't care as much.
I just don't care as much. I'm just
It's
like,
it's
yeah,
like it's
sure,
like with other people, like when we did our when we talked about Breath of the Wild
yeah,
and we listed all of our complaints and like this is why I think the game's not that good and tries like, yep, that complaint's fair, but I just don't care. Like I
yeah.
love
I
the
just don't care.
game.
Yeah, yeah.
So like
There are certain things that are higher on the priority tier list of what we expect. And world building is great, but for me, if it's not there, I'll try and build my own world.
yeah, and
I'll try.
I completely see like why you love this game, especially compared to other JRPGs, because this game is like it's way faster paced. The game like it doesn't waste your time. It's
Mhm.
not really boring at any point. The combat's fun. The story like has a lot of twists and turns, but it's well paced at the same time. They don't
Sure.
like there's not like 3 chapters of filler with nothing in the middle. Like every chapter you're getting like new things and
Yeah.
like more. It's just happening again.
Sure.
Maybe they could have slowed it down a little bit,
Yeah.
but and like yeah, the game for one story is not exceptionally long. It's probably gonna be I hit 20 hours today, like at the end of phase 9, so it's probably gonna be 30 hours. It's probably gonna be
Okay.
30 hours for me to complete Yuito's story.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do the side content too, so it might end up being 25
Yeah,
hours. Wow.
yeah,
Um. Yeah. No. I mean, look, you know me pretty well. My brain is a little smaller than most people's. Actually, if you look at it, the
no,
doctors have checked
you
it.
just don't have the patience
They
for
this yeah
super
yeah it's like for me
slow
though,
games.
like yeah, some people really like an 80-hour completely developed universe.
Yeah,
And when I don't get that, I fill in the blanks on my own. And that
yeah.
works for me pretty well in because I make things up that end up expanding on my own creativity, what I would expect or want. Like, yeah, they didn't tell us about Sayran. Fine. Then I'll fill in the blanks and say, okay, maybe they just literally don't know everything about Sayran because they're this rebellious other city. Like, they'd probably have scouted the city, but would Sayran have allowed the OSF to even infiltrate their boundaries given the
Well,
relationship? Probably not. So
I
maybe there's a reason. I really don't know.
again, I don't need to know everything about it, but I need to know that it existed. Again, when they started saying Sayron, I didn't know it existed and what it was.
Oh
So
yeah, of course.
that was my problem.
Of course you didn't. And like I'm gonna be honest, there are plenty of games that do that, and I'm just like, what the frick is this? I don't know what that is. And then they'll explain. But me not knowing like right away what the proper noun is, it's a mystery. You're you can just you it may get uncovered, and if it doesn't, I make something up. I'll just make shit up. What's Sayran? It's a donkey. I don't know. But in this case, like eventually they'll get to it, and when Kasane gets to there, you start to look around. Like people from Sayran start to talk to you. You start to get little pieces, and like then like Kasane makes her own judgments while talking to them. Like you start to piece things together, but you don't always get the full story. And for me, I'm kind of okay with that because would the OSF actually have the full story on Sayran? They probably have whatever intel they would get on a base level, but
Yeah,
Sayran
but
doesn't sound like
they,
they're on good terms with them.
they would know what it is.
They would know what it is. Sure, they would. Absolutely, they would know what Sayran is, and they'd
And
probably have like intel on it.
that's all I wanted was like a mention of what it was before they started saying s- again, when it came up and they were like,
Yeah,
okay, they're doing this thing. Sayron is doing this thing.
yeah,
Again, I don't want to spoil it, so I'm being very
yeah. Be
vague.
vague.
Sayron is doing this thing. Sayron. I'm like, what the hell is Sayron? What are
Yeah,
they talking
yeah.
about?
Of course.
Like, I just would have liked something like in a cutscene, maybe earlier in the chapter, or maybe like right before that happened, like, hey, by the way, there's this other city called Sayron that's out there, and then it would have clicked for me.
Right,
Like they needed one freaking line that
right.
just would have explained it to me, and it would have
Yeah.
made sense.
There would have been a way to do it. They couldn't have just had it be like, for example, you would be like, "What's Sayran?" After the
No,
captain.
they're smarter. Like they could have figured out a way to like work it into the dialogue, or for them to talk about it
Yeah.
for
Yes.
10 seconds
Oh my god. I
for
like.
it to make sense.
I kind of wanted Yuito's side to do
Yeah,
that though. I kind of wanted Yuito
yeah.
to be like, "Sayran, what's Sayran?"
What is Sayron?
Then I'd probably be like, "Yeah, Yuito's great. This is great." But yeah, like I agree with you. I do agree with you. It could have been more properly explained, and that's not like. But like for me, you know what? Okay, it wasn't, but I still enjoy the game. Did not knowing Sayran reduce my enjoyment of it? Not really. Like I still figured it out eventually what the hell it was. So that was still there. Um do I know other factions that are around that I haven't heard anything about that I'm sure exist? No. Is that bad for me? Not really. That's part of the mystery of we'll discover it when we discover it. Would it be nice to have like a codex somewhere? Sure, of course there is. There's like a library you can look through. Sure.
This game should have a codex with all the proper nouns in it
Yeah,
that
there's like
explains
a
them.
library that I found for enemies, and you can
Yeah,
find where enemies are. But
but it's just for enemies.
yeah,
It doesn't like
oh
explain the
really?
terminology. I
Okay,
don't
I
think.
haven't explored it enough, so maybe I'll do that next time I play. But look, I told you it was a hot take. I think it's a hot take. I would like walk up to any of our friends and be like, hey, look, Scarlet Nexus is a great game. You should play it. Play the Kasane side first, then go play Yuito side. You'll get the full package here. And Yuito side, it's great, but I think this side's a good. This is like a really strong start, or maybe you want a strong finish. Do that side, but I'm
So
like,
I take it you are
I'm a
planning on
stan.
playing Yuito. You like this
Yes, I
game
am.
enough that you're gonna
Oh,
play
absolutely.
the
I
other
will play it.
story after you complete it.
I will absolutely play Yuito side because I want to know the other perspective. Knowing Kasane's perspective is like it's Kasane's perspective is she's great. Like I can't say enough good things about this character. I think this is like a great character for me to play as because it's so direct, it's comical. So
I,
everybody else is trying to deal with her and she's hard to deal with.
yeah,
Really, she just struggles. She has like no like she has no customer service skills
yeah.
whatsoever.
No charisma, basically.
And
Yeah,
but and she's clearly intelligent. She is like observant, but when it comes to people, she has absolutely no observational skill. And that's why I actually like Shiden now because when he communicates with her, it's like it's the best. When you communicate with Shiden without Kasane, it probably sucks. I'm as
yeah.
Yuito, it probably sucks.
The second bonding event with Shiden, he like calls you. So the first one, you just like do a favor for him, and
Yeah,
he's a dick about it, but he
yeah,
kind of thanks you. Second one, he's like, "Hey, I want to give you some pointers because you helped me out," and you like go and he's trying to give you some pointers about your the way Yuito fights. He's like, "Yeah, you're." I forget what he says. Like, and at first it's like it's insulting, but it's he's saying it in kind of a condescending way, but you can see in a way he's trying to be helpful and like give you constructive criticism on the
yeah,
way Yuito fights. But then like by the end of it, I kind of stopped paying attention because I'm like rolling my eyes at this guy. But by the end of it, like he's just straight up flaming you, and Yuito's like, yeah, he's like literally like he just gets up and leaves. He's like, yeah, I'm not taking this. Bye, dude. Like fuck you.
yeah. No, anybody else interacting with Shiden, he's a bad character. As in, like he's just insufferable, which isn't bad as a whole. But with Kasane, it's like a match made in heaven for dialogue. It's god tier tales of dialogue. It's like
It's
when you heard like the direct tethering. It's like that
oh
god tier
god,
comedy. It's good. It's funny. Like I don't always laugh out loud with gaming humor,
but you're
but
chuckling,
I
yeah.
yeah, I'm laughing at this game. Like the Kasane Shiden relationship is great. It's perfect comedy
I I'm
because
really
they
curious.
clash really
I'm
well.
really curious now to think if like I think this game just clicks a little more with you than me. Like I prefer them to take a little more time and like, but I wonder if, like, our opinions would be slightly different at least if we had reversed, like, if I had played Kasane first and you
Probably.
had played Yuito first,
I
like,
want to say probably.
I wonder obviously, we can't go back and do it again, but I'm, like, curious to see the other timeline where we where we switch and, like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
this conversation would have gone if we had done it the other way around,
I probably
like
wouldn't. I'm guessing I wouldn't have felt as good, but I'm really happy it came out this way because I probably wouldn't have enjoyed as much, and then been like, do I really want to do the Kasane side? And you'd probably say like, oh, Kasane's great as a character, you should play her. But yeah, no, she's great. Like the whole relationship with Kasane and the party as a whole, like it's kind of nice because Arashi's kind of like a sister to you now. She really supports you, so it's kind of like you got like a sisterhood going on there. Like Kyoka and Kasane, just Kasane telling her, "Stop being my mom. I don't need you to be my mom.
you're
I
not my
need you to
mom,
see me
stop."
as your equal."
Yeah.
And Kyoki being like, "Oh, I have to adjust to this," and Shiden being a piece of shit, but like Kasane being so direct to him that like either he's completely offended by it, so he has no response, or he's just like, "Wait, you actually complimented me." My best lines with Kasane are when she says something to Shiden where she's like, I'm the leader of this group right now," and he's like, "What did you just say?" And she goes, "Are you deaf or hard of hearing? Are you hard of hearing? Did you not hear what I said?" And she's saying it because she legitimately doesn't know if he's like deaf or not sometimes.
Mhm.
And he takes it as an insult, but she's being direct and she's being serious. And it's like the perfect. Just like the whole time you're like, oh God, these two together are great. Um yeah, no, like Shiden with Yuito, I'm sure is just like insufferable. But
I'm hoping the last 2 bonding episodes with him are better, but yeah,
I doubt it.
it's not good so far.
Yeah, with
Um,
Kasane and Hanabi, by the way. Kasane is like Kasane basically turns it into an interrogation. And she's like trying to get information from Hanabi.
yeah.
And she's like, no, I don't want to. And she's just interrogating. And then at the end of the conversation, Hanabi gets mad and leaves. And Kasane goes, was that too much? Did I overdo it? In her head. And I'm like, yeah, you did. You did. Um, it's just like great because she's just like always like, wait, I think I went too far. You're like, oh, okay. It's just like, oh, okay. You just don't know what the fuck is happening, do you? She talks to a human and it's like nothing.
Yeah.
But it's like, but it's like I think it like her party is or like her party conversations are really good, and her even like the Bond episodes with the other
The
people
other team,
with
yeah.
the other team, they're good. They're still good. You're just like really Kasane is just like a very good conversational character, I think, because all these other people are actually just trying to figure her out and deal with her, and she's doing the same. She's like, how do I
Yep.
talk to people? So yeah, I'm very happy that I'm starting with this one because she's just like I don't know, like I don't know if I've dealt with a character like her specifically, but I don't know, she like works really well with what I'm looking for.
So, I take it this game is, gonna be pretty much front runner game of the year for you at this point?
I mean,
Like,
like for my enjoyment and what I felt of this game, yes, but can't say that I've played a lot of releases this year that I felt
sure.
have felt better about it. Or I felt better about like I'm trying to backtrack to other games that have come out that I've played that I felt like, oh wow, this is amazing experience. That was a new release. So I guess right now, yeah, this is my favorite game this year, but that's not
Yeah,
like saying a ton.
there's still 5 months left or
Yeah,
6 months left.
it's not saying a ton in the context of like what's come out that I've played. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I would recommend this to anybody if they have any remote
Yeah,
interest in like a fun, fast paced action game. Except for the Devil May
yeah.
Cry guy, I would recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily need to love JRPGs to
No, you
like
don't.
this game. Like, obviously, it has some of the anime, like, it has an anime art style, it has some anime tropes, but the world is very different from a lot of JRPGs.
Mhm.
and the story is much faster paced than a lot of JRPGs. And there's a lot of side, Bond episodes and side content to make the game longer, but like you don't have to do it. You can blitz the main story if you
Yeah.
really want to do it that way. So, um,
I'm looking through the releases, and I guess Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, while that was a release this year, it's, you know, I'm not going to call that a new game. That's one I played. So, like, I really enjoyed that.
yeah,
But, like, yeah, to be honest, I haven't, like, played a ton of new releases. So, it's been kind of, like, Scarlet Nexus has been the one, like, big new release that I've played, if I'm being honest. Because I'm looking through them right now. I guess Outriders was something we played and we stopped playing. So, but I think you know our opinion on that one already. Um,
fine. It's fun for
it
a
was
while,
yeah, it
but
was fine. Yeah, MLB The Show 21, Beefcake Story was
yeah,
also good. I never got to play new Pokemon Snap. I kind of wanted to. Yeah, I mean, like definitely, it's Scarlet Nexus for me right now, but that's because I've only played like 3 new releases. So not saying much. You should play
yeah,
East 9. Yeah, that's somewhere on the list. It's somewhere. There's like this list of shit, and I've got like Santa's type of list going.
yeah.
It's not naughty and nice though. It's things I haven't finished and things I need to get to.
Yeah,
And then
I know
like
you're way into Scarlet Nexus right now, but I would really like you to finish Xenoblade
I
2.
know,
So,
me too. Me too. I keep looking at my Switch going, should I play it today? And and then like but Mass Effect's here. And then I look and say, but Scarlet Nexus is here. And then I've got my random one off like playing file, whatever. Genshin Impact for 30 minutes, whatever it is. And then school happens.
yep, yep,
And then school, this class is hard. And yeah, no, Yeast is on this naughty, like this list of like, hey, things I want to get to. But there's another side that's like things I haven't finished that I'd like to finish. Or I want,
yep.
like, I have a desire to try and seed through to that list has several games that just are sitting there glaring at me. Um, but then there's also stuff like Mario Golf. Have you played Mario Golf yet, by the way?
Once.
Once? Okay. We should do a
Yeah.
Mario Golf stream together. Because I'm not busy actually. But besides you being busy this weekend, I mean, like next Monday or Tuesday or whatever. Because I don't have homework, so I'm just sitting around.
Okay.
And I want to play golf with you. I would like to play golf with you. So we should do it. It'll be fun. Anyway, all right. Any other final thoughts about Scarlet Nexus? I have nothing else to say to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, I think we're gonna do a. I know we kind of ranted for a while about it today, and I know I had a lot of things, that I said I didn't like about it. But again, most of those things are pretty minor and does not ruin the overall experience. The game is really good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's easily an 8, probably an 8.5, but it's it's like close. Again, it's just like to me it's just not exceptional,
Yeah,
so I
sure.
can't give it a 9, but it's like it's pretty close. Like it's
I
really good.
yeah,
It's probably going to be my favorite game of the year up to this point, second being East 9. Like
sure.
East 9 is just really solid all around, but I think Scarlet Nexus does things a little like more a little better than East does. So
Sure.
yeah,
I can
it's
understand people seeing complaints. I understand it. I really do.
it is a really good game and worth giving a shot. And I mean I agree with you. I wish Bandai Namco would have they did market it pretty well with like Xbox and they had events, but they missed an opportunity with E3
Yeah.
for sure. Um,
This really
so
could
yeah,
have this really deserved more from Bandai Namco for E3.
I mean yeah, we'll see when I don't know if we'll get like sales numbers or like how this game did at some point, but I would be interested
Yeah.
to see how it did when
Yep.
we can get that information.
As a related note, the anime for Scarlet Nexus started today, as I
Hmm.
understand it, July 1st. Did you know there are little codes in the anime that you can put into the game and get some special reward?
Yeah, I saw that quest in the game and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
That's what I said.
I'm like, maybe I'll watch the anime at some point just for my own curiosity, but I ain't doing the
No.
Yeah, I saw
Not
that
even.
quest in the game, and I'm like, really, really, Bandai Namco, you're doing this? All right,
I was just like,
no,
that's cute.
nope, I ain't doing that.
That's cute. Too bad I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I just walked right
yeah,
away.
my same reaction. I do not care. I don't want to do that.
Right. Oh my god. Anyway, but I mean, we should watch the show at some point. Um, and just check it out. We could always like, we already finished World Ends with You. We could always
Yeah,
pivot, I suppose.
yeah, but we will find some time, whether it's on podcast or separately, to do a full-fledged review for Scarlet Nexus
Yeah.
once we're both finished with it.
I feel like once I finish one side and I start going on the Yuito side, I just say let's just do it.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
but because I don't think I'll be able to finish Yuito side in a reasonable amount of time, being like next week. Um, but I would like to. I mean, like I really like this game. This is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like this isn't like a bad thing to say for like Xenoblade or anything, but there are some games where I'm just like, yeah, I'll boot it up if I want, but I get like a middling sense of if I want to or not. Scarlet Nexus has been one of those games where I'm like,
you always want to play. You
I was
always
like,
want to
yeah, I
play
kind
it,
of
and
want to
you're
play
like,
this.
you're excited to play it, like every
I'm,
time you boot it
I
up,
don't
right?
always have
Like,
that with every game. Even games I like, I don't always feel that way. Like Assassin's Creed's a good example. Like Valhalla, I enjoy the game, but it's not a game that I'm just like gonna wake up and play
yeah,
because I would prefer to do something. So anyway, okay, that was
yeah.
that it.
I think
We
that's it.
concluding? Okay.
Yep.
Couple concluding notes. YouTube videos, you should check them out. We have a lot of Scarlet Nexus stuff going up there, even for the next several days over the weekend. You're probably going to see more Kasane stuff than Yuito, beyond what Spoon will upload from when you played today.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
check it out
uploaded.
for obvious reasons, but
Yeah,
um,
it's up. It's scheduled to go up tomorrow
right,
at 4, like I scheduled
yeah.
all mine. So yeah,
Um, so yeah, you should if you're interested, you should check those out. You should also check out the giveaway that we're going to be doing. It's going to start tomorrow. I'll put details on that in the Discord in a bit here, and yeah, please feel free to give honest answers again. Like it's gonna look like, oh god, it's a survey, blah blah blah. It's not really that much of a survey. You can give like a one sentence answer. You're not gonna you're not expected to put the entire script of the B movie in there. Okay. Um, and then finally, please be sure to support us on Twitter and Twitch and such. We appreciate that stuff, and we always love your guys' support. So that's gonna do it, I think. Spoon, have a
yep,
good weekend, sir. Enjoy
yep.
yourself. And for those of you that are want to check out the Scarlet Nexus Kasane streams, I will be on tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday is the plan because there's no D&D and I have no homework. So I'm going to have a lot of fun this weekend with Scarlet Nexus. So,
I will be streaming tomorrow morning, but again, the rest of the weekend
sure.
probably not.
Okay. So tomorrow morning, check out Spoon. He's playing Yuito. You're pretty close to the end too, so might
Yeah,
be an interesting last
I mean
couple.
the phases are getting pretty long, and the standby phases are getting longer as well. So like each phase is kind of taking
I see.
longer. Like,
Yeah, which I think makes sense. I think it
yeah, it
does
makes
make sense.
sense. We're getting close to the end of the
Yeah,
game, so
makes sense. So, anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully, you guys have a good weekend. It is 4th of July, so be safe.
yep,
And we'll see you guys, I guess, next Wednesday. We'll go back to normal time next Wednesday for
yep.
podcast.
Normal schedule next week.
See you guys.
Night, everybody.